go! Exclamation point.
Okay.
It says go.
Yeah, good.
Fucking exclamation point. Okay.
Woo.
Autobots, transform and roll out!
Mike! So many Mike! So many Mike! So many Mike! So many Mike!
Well, hey there, folks. Welcome back for another thrilling episode of Two Mikes, Two Furious Animated Transformers, where we normally discuss Transformers Animated one episode at a time from two different points of view. But today we're doing the same thing, but we're doing it a little differently today. And in observance of the holidays, we're rolling with the Ghost of Christmas Future, and we have jumped ahead in time, and we are talking about Human Error Part 1, which is, of course, the Transformers animated Christmas episode in observance of the Christmas holidays coming up here in December. I hope you are having a happy and safe and wonderful holiday season. My name is Mike Seibert. I am your first-time watcher. I have never watched Transformers Animated before this project, and I've never seen this delightful Christmas episode of Transformers, which I think might be the only Transformers Christmas episode, but we could discuss that later. But I am not on this journey alone. Guiding me, as always, is the Spark Soul brother. He is author Michael Andrews. Thanks so much for being my buddy here on this cold, wintry morning.
Ooh, yeah. Ho, 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 Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good. Yeah, it's a bit of a winter warm-up here, I'm calling it. It's kind of a soft open, if you will, of season 3 of Transformers Animated. That's how I'm experiencing it anyway.
I love it. Well, and so if you're listening to this now, it's like, ooh, season 3, episode 1. Hells yeah. Transwarped. Fucking Christmas episode. What is happening?
It's the Two Mikes, Two Furious holiday review.
Exactly. So no, we, after we signed off in the fall, we kind of came up with this plan of like, what are we going to do for season 3? And I honestly, Michael Andrews, I don't remember which one of us had this idea. This smells like a Michael Andrews original, but I think we were kind of bogged down in considering how we wanted to handle Transwarped. Like it's a 3-parter. It's a massive thing. It's an incredible undertaking. And everyone and their mom has knocked on our door wanting to be on that episode. So we'll discuss what our plans are to handle that maybe at the end of Human Error Part 2 when we get to the end of our conversation here. But regardless, that put us in a spot where it's like, well, this Transwarp thing is going to need more time in the oven, more time in the crock pot, to cook and marinate and really get the juices soaked into that succulent meat before it's ready to be served up as a holiday feast. But prior to that, though, we was getting itchy. It's like, okay, cool. It's like, okay, great. I hear the Green Day playing in the background. You wake me up with September Eds. It's like, okay, time to, school is over. And it's like, well, so we're not going to do another episode before next year? I'm like, yeah, man, but we got the mailbag mixer live stream we'll do. But no episode though. And I'm like, fuck no, God, no. I still need to like recharge and stuff. But then Michael Andrews came up with this brilliant idea, and I'm doing this thing that I did on the live stream where I'm telling a story that involves you when you're sitting there, right? I'm telling you
I'm also
the story.
I'm
telling you the story of what you said. Right. But no,
like being at my own funeral.
Exactly. Spoilers alert. This is what it's going to be like.
Yeah. I'm just Mike Seibert orating the story of me.
Yeah. Stay alive as long as possible to avoid this. But no, we got to talking, and Michael Andrews is like, well, there is a Christmas episode. And I was like, say no more. Don't even tell me anything about anything. Let's do it, because that sounds awesome.
Well, I was going to say, I brought up that there was a Christmas episode, obviously having foresight into the season. I just remembered it. But you very smartly brought up that, that was kind of the Two Mikes, Too Furious origins. We did a beta test episode, so to speak, where we did for Halloween one year, we did the Along Came a Spider episode. And that just felt like this, right? Like it just felt like we got to do the same way. We got to treat the holiday episode around the holidays. And I mean, getting into the episode proper, like this actually aired in April, which is weird. And I've always wanted to do it justice. It's a very Christmassy heavy episode. Now this is sort of my way to present this again to the masses around Christmas time, when it should have been viewed, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And, we had way back when, almost 5 years ago now, when we were discussing what the execution of Two Mikes, Too Furious was. I don't know if you remember this or not, but the original plan was to time it to where we would hit Along Came a Spider on Halloween. And an entire year passed where it's well, we missed it. Well, and if we don't start at this date, we're going to miss it again. And then I forget exactly what we did, but it was just all right, enough. I can't triangulate this this landing here. It's like playing a Top Gun on the old NES, where it's you could do the dogfighting just fine. You can't fucking land to save your life, and it's just it is the most difficult thing. So I found it untenable, impossible to be able to land that plane. So it's how about we just do it out of order? So this has similar energy, but it's very different in that we've done 2 seasons already. And for me, this is really cool in that we're making it a point to jump ahead with no context. I have watched nothing of season 3 other than these episodes. And one of the things, Michael Anders, you set me straight on, or set me on the path to get me on board with this, is that these episodes, this 2-parter, is very self-contained and contained within itself. And having watched the episodes, it's a 2-parter, but having watched it, what I think is cool is that I have no idea what the overarching story is, because this is, again, very contained within its own self and its own narrative. But what I also think is really cool and really fun is that, for me, I kind of feel like we're kind of Doc and Marty in Back to the Future Part 2, when they go to 2015 and Marty's wow, the future. And Doc's whatever, because he's been there a lot. Doc Brown spent a lot of time in 2015 before going to retrieve Marty and Jennifer in 1985. But there's this scene where they decide what their mission is. They have to, prevent the hoverboarding accident that destroys the clock tower and all of that. But Marty is still kind of starstruck. He's holy wow, the future. And Doc just kind of grabs him by the arm and he's
don't talk to anyone. Don't touch anything. Don't do anything. Don't interact with anyone, and try not to look at anything.
And that's what I kind of feel like this glimpse into season 3 is for me, because there's a lot of stuff that I have no idea what's going on. And for me, this kind of felt like a candy-colored, cocaine-fueled fever dream, which ironically enough becomes a point in the episode. But so I'm having a lot of the same experiences as the characters, but even in their defaulting, I'm what is happening? What is going on? It's so it's just nuts. And I know it's stuff that's going to present itself as we get into season 3. So for the purposes of this discussion, I'm going to try to avoid a lot of the golly willikers. Prowl sure looks funny. Oh, golly willikers. Sorry, some deck's a teenager now. Oh, golly willikers. They seem to have done some renovations decorations on the headquarters. Oh, golly willikers, Porter C. Powell's selling toys. You know, there's a lot of like, golly willikers, who the fuck are those other Decepticons? You know, it's like there was a lot of holy shit moments going through this episode here, and to minimize the temporal damage, I only watched it once. I watched both episodes back to back, and that's it. I didn't even take any notes because I'm just like, I don't want any of this stuff to crystallize too hard. So as we go through the discussion, I might miss stuff, I might misinterpret things, I might get things out of order. But that's kind of the fun of the two mics gimmick.
Yes, I knew I was going to be doing some extra tap dancing here, and just the joy of that was too good to pass up. I had to do this to you.
Well, and I'll throw another thing in for context here. We are firmly in the Christmas season, obviously. You know, it's like decorations are up, you know, you're watching Christmas fueled TV and movies and things like that. So we're my wife and I basically, like, I meant to watch this earlier, and it kept getting kicked down the road. And she had asked me, she's like, have you watched the episode yet? And I'm like, no. Well, when are you going to do that? I guess I'm just going to watch it after you go to bed. And she's like, why don't we just watch it now? Yeah, it's a Christmas episode, right? So Lucky and I watched it together. So I'll share a little bit of her insight as we go, because like I think the only other episode of TFA that she's watched, because she doesn't watch this with me, but like I think she watched the pilot with me, and I think that's about it. So she'll have some observations and commentary that'll kind of sprinkle throughout as
that's so cool. You got your partner to do the one thing I couldn't get my partner to do. She was not interested in watching it. She's like, no, I think I'm going to read a book. And I was like, all right, that's fair. That's valid.
Well, you know, and not to get too deeply personal on it, but has she seen this before? Like, has she watched this with you in any of your serial rewatches?
Yes. I mean, for a long time there, kind of in the honeymoon phase of our relationship, you know, I was very adamant that we would watch Along Came a Spider every Halloween. That was like a staple that we get on the plate. So she's seen that episode quite a few times. Yeah, it's not Kate's cup of tea, the Transformers animated. I think the animation for her is a little jarring, which I think that's weird, because I think, you know, typically someone coming to Transformers that's never really been invested in Transformers would just think this was kind of cool. This is similar to other animation. This is very Cartoon Network-y. I thought it would be more approachable, but I guess she's, you know, got so much Transformers runoff from me that she's having that kind of feeling of like, this isn't Transformers. What the hell am I watching? Yeah.
Well, you know, and you know, I'll save it for later. I have some Lucky observations as well, but we can, like I said, we can unpack that as we go.
Let's keep it Christmassy around here.
Yeah. So with that, when does Christmas start for the Michael Andrews family? Like, are you like, you wait until it becomes December? Is it like right after Halloween? How does the season begin for you guys?
I personally think it started a little earlier than normal around here, but Kate says that she started exactly when she meant to. It's sort of like a Gandalf Wizards thing. It arrived exactly when it was meant to.
Sure.
So she, you know, pretty much November 1st, she was tearing down from Halloween decorations and starting on the Christmas stuff. So the tree's been up for a while. You know, the holly and the ivy and all that good stuff has been up. And, you know, kind of just through Thanksgiving, I always think of Thanksgiving more fall and you know, spooky and oranges and browns, but nope, we're burning right through that. But yeah, so we're there. We're Christmas here in this house.
Got it. Smoking the proverbial holiday pack
there's no war on Christmas in this house.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, see, and it's interesting because like we have a very different approach in that, like, you know, we will do holiday shopping. We're a holiday bazaar family. Like, you know, that is almost as good as garage sailing, that kind of thing. But like, you know, if there's a number of like craft fairs and holiday bazaars and farmers markets, and you know, like our local farmers market turns from a summer farmers market to like a holiday type of
fun.
farmer market thing. It's pretty cool. So that's kind of like the beginning of the holiday festivities for us. But in our house, Christmas officially begins the day after Thanksgiving. And then that Friday, we get up early, we crank up the Christmas tunes, and that's when we do all of the holiday decorations. We do it all on Friday. Like we're not Black Friday shoppers, even though I picked up a couple things online. But we don't. I mean, for years, even before it was fashionable, we weren't like, let's trudge out into the snow. And my days of digging through DVD dump bins are long behind me. I feel no compulsion to go out to the Circuit City and fish through bins of discount DVDs.
Oh, the door busting. Oh, those were the days.
Yeah.
What was your kind of like, okay, for example, for me, like Black Friday, usually back in the day, I had to work Black Friday. So I would be getting up extra early, going back to bed for a little bit and then getting out there. But I would search for like DVD TV show seasons. So for me, it was like Psych. Psych was the thing I was looking for. That was how I kept my Psych DVD collection going. So I'd buy like a season every time on Black Friday. But did you have anything like that where it was like, this is top of my list to search through?
No, unfortunately, my shopping still even now today, as the sun is setting on RossCon 2024, I have a very different relationship with discount shopping in that I'm not necessarily looking for things. I'm more interested in deals. So like, for example, and like the DVD dump bin days, I wouldn't necessarily be looking for things. It would be more like, oh, hey, Boston Legal season 1 is on sale for $10. Let's buy that. That kind of thing. And it's like, oh, well, we would watch that. We like a William Shatner ex James Spader legal drama that's also kind of a comedy. Sure, why not?
I like this approach. You were kind of like letting it drive your, the next year of your life, right? Like like, this is what we're going to watch now because it was on sale in this bin.
Well, and to fast forward that to today, I over the last couple years of shopping at Ross and Burlington and other deep discounts, and even like the holiday sales on Hasbro Pulse, Amazon Black Friday sales or whatever, it's really kind of like the price that kind of drives it. It's like, do I really need a Black Series Dark Trooper for $10? No, but for $10 now I've got somebody to beat up on Mando. So that's fine. But and I think I've talked about this last year because I think with the way our episodes went, it was kind of like post-Christmas stuff. Like, when we started into season 2, the holidays had passed. But like for me, when I go to those discount stores and I take advantage of discounts, I have kind of like a one for me, one for them type of thing. I like picking up toys on the cheap to fill toy drive bins. Toys for tots, whatever. Like there's a couple different spots that I hit, but I'm also buying stuff for myself and I'm on the lookout for stuff for my friends. Like I've got pretty much like a whole array of Earthspark Deluxes for my buddy Garrett, who, doesn't have one of those stores near him. And he's like, ooh, Bumblebee for $10. So yeah, so I got him like a Bumblebee, a Shockwave, and a Grimlock, and a Nightshade. I had to keep an owl for myself though. Like the first time I found a Nightshade at Ross, I'm like, that is mine, because that was hard to find at like regular retail. And that's the thing with like this whole Ross effect. Of course, I'm talking about Ross Dress for Less, which is like kind of like a retail wholesaler liquidation discounter type of store, but that's where a lot of like Hasbro overstock kind of ends up. Last year, everybody had like Cosmos Mania because like the Velocitron array was, so there was Cosmos, there were Crashers. I mean, shit. I got to a point where I was tired of finding Crashers. I found so many for my friends, so I would find them, box them, and ship them. It's like everybody who wanted one. I think I found at least like a half a dozen, like in my travels.
Wow.
So
awesome.
and for me, it's a couple different things. It's like my dude Lockdown. It's like it's the thrill of the hunt, and to bring it back around to what I was saying about like deals, it's like, do I really need another G2 cloud cover? Probably no, but for $10, I could keep the one I already have in the box, and now I can open one and put them in my Ramjet things. I apparently have a Ramjet army now because I got there's a G2 one, there's a G2 Sandstorm, there's a G2 cloud cover, and just regular flavor Ramjet that I got on pre-order. So I mean, if they keep doing them in all these different colors, I'm going to have as many Ramjets as I do Sideswipes. Not Seekers, just Ramjet. Just Ramjet. Just Ramjet. It's so weird. It's like why do they use him for all those recolors? I picked up a Legacy Strong Arm for $7.99. And I'm like, well, I didn't necessarily want that character, but man, does she look cool with Alita 1 and Minerva. It's like now they got like Teen Girl Squad.
Teen Girl Squad! Cheerleader! So-and-so! What's your face?
Going on. I mentioned it in one of my other podcasts. I think I talked about this on Mike Seibert Radio, but like it seems like my pattern in my collecting is that I like the same mold in different colors. It's like, if you could give me like a half dozen of the same guy, I'll take it. Because it's like, I got my Sideswipe.
You're Hasbro's dream, Mike. You're their ideal customer.
Freaking repaints, man. I love them. Because like, if it's a toy I already like, yeah, give me more of it. I mean, to say nothing about like all of the Mando and Friends display that I have. Yeah, like so many generic Mandalorian people. But anyway, so long story short, that's kind of my relationship to Black Friday deals and like holiday deals. Is like, it's more about the deal than what the actual item is. Occasionally I'll find something I'm actually looking for, but more often than not, it's just like, oh man, this is super cheap. I can't pass this up. That kind of thing.
Sure. Well, that's a little too much commercialism for me for this Christmas special. So I'm going to swing it back a little bit. I'm going to cherry pick out that, you kind of dusted over it, but I do know that about you. You do look to stock those Toys for Tots bins and toy donation bins. That's a really cool thing that you do. And along with that, in a similar vein, I've been, kind of taking stock and letting my friends know that who I'm thankful for and grateful for and reaching out to them. And so I thought I might do that here. I have a couple thanks to give as we lead into the show, if that's all right with you.
That is very all right. Because and it's literally in this episode. It's like, be thankful for what you got, which includes family.
Absolutely. So, of course, I mean, right off the bat, I gotta say I'm thankful for my co-host with the Mo-host, the titular Mike, to my titular Mike, Mike Seibert. Of course, you truly embody the tireless mechanical partner role of this show, for all your behind-the-scenes efforts, producing, editing, sampling, making me sound oh so good week after week. I have to thank you. I'm thankful for you, buddy. So gotta get that one out of the way. That's a biggie.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
I'm also very thankful, grateful for our listeners, kind of for sticking through with us, through these last couple of years, through this hiatus, especially for hopping on for our mailbag mixer. Like we didn't get a lot of mail discussed that night per se, but damn, if we didn't have a big crew that was like talking all things Transformers for a good chunk of the night. I mean, we were really testing the boundaries of that YouTube frame with all the people we had popping on. So that was just so cool to see. It was almost a better birthday than my actual birthday, which was like a week later. Like, it was great.
Yeah, it was. We literally pushed the boundaries because I didn't realize that 10 participants included me. It's like, no, I guess 10 would include the host, wouldn't it? So
at one point we had to bump ourselves out and just let them talk amongst themselves.
Exactly. Hey, Caleb, do you mind being off the stream for a while? Well, I guess. I felt
it was a very bad. Lindsey Buckingham, like he was just about to talk, and it was like, nope, I'm so sorry.
Well, and it was so bad too because I think it was just my line of sight. I mean, hindsight being 2020, I probably could have like polled the panel and said, hey, does anybody mind jumping off for a few while I get some other folks in there? I'm sure somebody would have jumped off, but it was just the way like my line of sight was. I'm like, oh, there's Caleb in the bottom right-hand corner directly in my eye line. Hey, Caleb.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
Meanwhile, Matty B's just like hiding in the top right corner, just like he's like, I'm just gonna
clinging to the edge of the computer screen.
But man, I mean that is the biggest live stream that I've hosted and that either of us have been a part of. That was just nuts. I'm
well, and it was huge for not even planning to have guests on. We kind of like, we'll put the link out there and see who hops on, and we got hop-ons.
Yes. Watch out for hop-ons.
Right. We got them. So lastly, I guess to wrap this all up, and then we can finally get into the episode proper here. But this episode, in fact, reminded me how thankful I was when the season 3 DVD set of Transformers Animated dropped. One of the thrills of my adult life was getting the official physical media version of this and kind of slotting it into that hole in my collection. I didn't think I would see the day. There was a big gap. I actually checked the dates. I mean, between when season 2 came out on DVD, it was January 6, 2009. And then season 3 didn't drop until June 10th, 2014. And in those formative years without the internet, that was like, there was no streaming back then. It was just kind of a dead zone between those seasons. So, and Shout Factory did such a good job, like matching the art and feel of the original DVD seasons, that it just felt like this natural, like I literally left kind of like a hole in my DVD rack where that one day would go in hopes that it would come out. And then Shout Factory, promised. I guess where I'm going with all this is that, you often call me the serial rewatcher, but I've seen season 3 far less than any of the other seasons just because of access issues. I didn't have, that's 5 years there where I didn't have to, the ability to watch it. So I was rewatching 1 and 2 or more and more. So this season 3 is going to be extra thrilling for me. I feel like I'm a little more along for the ride, kind of like you. I mean, I still know what's coming a little bit, but some of this stuff is going to seem very new to me. I'm excited. I'm going to watch it with the fresh eyes of Mike Seibert here a little bit.
I love that. That's with having that initial scarcity. I didn't realize there was such a gap in between the home video releases. I still keep thinking I want to pick up a copy of TFA on some kind of physical media, because I think that Shout Factory has a full series collection.
Yeah, in fact, those came out the same day. Shout Factory released the season 3 and the complete collection at once, and I just think that's really cool because they knew collectors had that void in their collection. So instead of just putting out a complete set, right, they put out a single season 3 if you needed to slot it right in there.
It sounds like there was maybe some like rights issues or some, publishing things or something like that. But to your point, yeah, Shout Factory didn't have to put out that a la carte season 3. I guess for me, and folks could, write into the mailbag and comment, but I guess for me, where my interest would be in owning it on physical media would be the special features. It's like, are there commentary tracks? Are there, documentaries, featurettes, that kind of stuff. I think because like aside from Kean Carlisle's YouTube channel, which has a very TFA focus to it, I don't know if I've really seen a whole lot of like behind the scenes stuff, and certainly nothing vintage of its time. Like I think the only artifact of like vintage TFA is like the original trailer for animated that they rolled during BotCon that one year. I'm sorry. I think it was San Diego Comic-Con. Now that I say it, I don't think it was BotCon, but anyway, like I have like no exposure. Like it would be cool to see like, if there's, interviews with Marty Eisenberg, or if there's interviews with like Derek J. Wyatt, or, if any of that material even exists. And quite frankly, I've not gone looking for it for fear of what I would find. And like we've discussed, the more Transformers Animated I consume, the more vulnerable I become to spoilers. I think, last summer was, or maybe it was the beginning of last year, in 2024 was probably like at my most vulnerable, because like there was a lot of TFA related content, but like since I would have the context of what it was. Like, I saw the secret of the Autobot shuttle long before we saw that finale episode. So
Right.
I knew it was Omega Supreme. In fact, I probably knew that. I don't know when I knew that, but I knew that like way earlier than I should have. But now that I've seen a thing or two, my brain can automatically start kind of like, putting pieces together.
Right. We're nearing the end of the puzzle. We can see it's a donkey kind of a thing.
Yeah. There's still pieces. I love that analogy, by the way, because there's still pieces. And even like in these episodes here, we're going to talk about, there's a piece over here. Why is Prowl back in his samurai mods? That kind of thing. What happened there? I don't know. I'm not going to ask. I'm just going to find out when it decides to tell me. But it's another thing that but since I've seen that lockdown episode with the mods, I know that means something. And so it can't help but scratch at the back of my mind a little bit. Or even like Sorry Sumdak herself. It's like the last time I saw her, she was an 8-year-old with sparks coming out of her elbow. Now she's a teenager with a seeming a very explicit techno-organic aspect to her.
And fingerless gloves. Ooh,
Oh my gosh. That turn into Iron Man repulsor rays.
Right.
Like I think it was deep into part 2 before I realized that's what was happening. I'm just like, wait a minute. Because like at first I thought she's just like, oh, she could do Hadoukens. And I'm just like, wait a sec, where does that come from? I thought it was like from the jetpack or something like that. I'm like, oh no, her hands just do that. And then there's several instances where she's like holding out her hand and you can see robot bits. And I'm like, wait a sec, are they always like that now? Well, no. Oh, okay. And I'm like, well, I will ask no more questions.
Yes. Let's pull the tinsel veil down over that. That's business for another day. Let's keep it Christmassy here.
I'm just saying that there's this glimpse into the future kind of just agitates a lot of things in my imagination.
Much like Scrooge at the end of Christmas Carol, getting to see his future self.
Yeah, I mean, or even in Brett Ratner's The Family Man with Nicolas Cage. It's like Don Cheadle comes up and he's like,
"This is a glimpse, Jack."
A glimpse? A glimpse of what?
Well, you're gonna have to figure that out for yourself, and you got plenty of time.
So I'm Nicolas Cage here. This is a glimpse into the future. So that's kind of how I take it. But I left a thread dangling. We were talking about when does Christmas begin? And so the day after Thanksgiving, it's all of the decorations go up in the house, and it is just Christmas music all out the ear. So I'm listening to Christmas music on my way up to the studio today. So I am ready. Maybe when we get into part 2, we'll talk more about Christmassy traditions and what we do to kind of stay in the spirit. But we can save that for now because it is Christmas in Detroit.
Yes.
And of course we are talking about Human Error Part 1, Season 3, Episode 8, written by Henry Gilroy, who you will remember as writing Sound and Fury, which, as we all recall, is the Soundwave episode. Yeah. And the thing about this episode too, and I when you have so many overwhelming thoughts, you don't know where to start. I kind of felt this about this episode as it was happening. I'm like, cool, it's a Christmas episode. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a glimpse into the future. Holy shit, this is a fucking Soundwave episode. Oh my God. I'm just like, I was hopping up and down. I was really giddy because the thing that I thought was funny, again, first time watcher, you see in the city, and I see somebody walk by in the foreground, and they have a Soundwave action figure, and I'm just like, ooh, 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 ooh. I didn't know what the plot was, so I just thought that single Soundwave toy in that shopping bag was the Easter egg. I had no idea how the episode was going to go, but yeah.
Well, I was keeping that in my pocket in case you weren't going for this Christmas special idea. That was going to be my, but it's a Soundwave episode. Yeah. But luckily I didn't have to get there. You were on board for it. So surprise, it's a Soundwave episode.
Yeah. And I'm really glad you didn't share that with me, because that was a wonderful Christmas surprise. Yeah. That was, like this whole episode is a gift. I'm just like unwrap it, just mowing through packages and ripping, and there's bows everywhere and ribbon. And there's all kinds of stuff here. But yeah, so we start. It's Christmas, and we discovered that the hottest toy of the year is indeed my dude Soundwave, but it's now being marketed by Porter C. Powell. And
yeah,
we kind of talked about like this being a glimpse into the future, and like, I don't know where things left off, but now I've got a glimpse of where they're going. Porter C. Powell is sitting here selling Soundwave action figures.
Oh yeah, I love this. Right. All right. Wait. So we open on this big tree. In case you don't know, it's Christmas special. Very clearly, giant tree in the middle of New Detroit. Optimus is out on patrol. He's going down the streets, and above him on this giant video screen, I think this is hilarious, is Porter C. Powell commercial for the Soundwave toy, the hot it's like the Turbo Man of New Detroit. Like everyone's got to have it.
I think it's the same font even. I think they're using the Turbo Man font.
Oh yeah, that could be for sure. But yeah, so it's airing, and it's funny because it's not just a commercial. It's more like a QVC. Like it's a live, him recording in the studio, like taking calls from callers. I just cracked up. You don't really see that a ton anymore, but back in our day, and back probably in the writer's day, I mean, that was like the holiday tradition. I mean, that was late night viewing for any night, but holidays, they try to sell that. But yeah, he's selling these Soundwaves. He takes a call, and it is his caller. Go ahead, caller, is Isaac Sumdack, just complaining about the stolen idea.
That toy rightfully belongs to me, Powell. You are a thieving crook.
Yeah, it's like you stole my story. I think you stole my ideas, and it's like, and that was at that point. I'm just like, what is actually happening here? I do not understand, because it's like, is this live? Is this recorded? Why is this put up in the New Detroit equivalent of Times Square? It's just nuts. And this is the most Porter C. Powell thing ever, where he's just like,
but I acquired this toy's patents fair and square when I owned your company.
And it's like, yeah. I don't think that's how that works. I mean, obviously, presumably, now that Isaac Sumdack has been rescued from Decepticon captivity, he's most likely put back in charge of Sumdack Systems, and there's some kind of falling out with Porter C. Powell, and he's presumably trying to get back on his feet by selling these proprietary designs. But again, I don't think saying like, I used to own that is, I mean, I'm no copyright attorney or anything like that, but I don't think you could say I used to own that and still retain those rights to own that, to make these Soundwave dolls.
Yeah. It was either Soundwave dolls or commemorative Bibles. Was what he was going to sell. So he made the choice. He went with the right one, I guess, for this season. They're selling pretty good. Yeah. But I loved it. I left. I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I was going to be more explicit and say, commemorative NFTs. You get Porter C. Powell trading cards with NFTs attached.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so good. Just like him and like Andy Warhol colors, different shades.
Yes.
He's opening the packs. Ooh.
Well, and they would have like, you know, the aggressive AI type of artwork where it's like Porter C. Powell, but he's got like humongous pecs and an 8-pack, and he's like crossing the Delaware River for no apparent reason. That kind of thing.
It's perfect and a little sad. But anyway, back to this commercial. If I wasn't cracking up already, I died when he said, you know, he announced the price was $19.99, and so cuts back to Sumdac, and he's like,
$19.99? How does he do it?
even Sumdac, it's almost like he's been trying to market this Soundwave doll for years and never figured out how to keep the costs low. And Powell cracked the code.
Well, first and foremost, Powell cracked the code. You make it an action figure. You know, you make it a doll. I think the problem with Sumdac's initial thing. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You know, let's go back to Sorry's birthday, and like the original Soundwave was like a custom thing. It wasn't necessarily like meant to be mass produced and sold, and it's pretty big. Like you know you know, when Sorry unwraps the box is as big as she is, and you get like the giant Soundwave boom box, and you know, once he like, you know, does his Soundwave dance, I think he scales in size with 8-year-old Sorry Sumdac, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, always kind of like big as she is at least. But now this makes me like recontextualize Sorry's birthday altogether. Like, was this a cool one-off gift for his daughter, or was this like beta testing for his new product? Maybe, I don't know, maybe he was just trying it out on her. Like, she was the test market for his new business scheme, which was these helper robots that are also musical. I think there's something there. And I think later in this episode, we may have some more further evidence for that. But I did want to put in at this point, this whole context of Powell trying to hawk these mini versions of Soundwave really reminds me of one of my all-time favorite holiday films. Probably one you're not expecting, but Short Circuit 2. Mike, have you seen Short Circuit 2?
Not
even Short Circuit 1?
Not in this century. But
okay.
But and when I tell people that, they kind of like, wait, what do you mean? And it's like, well, that's only 24 years, you know? So it's like, I mean, if I remember correctly, Short Circuit 2 was on either like HBO or Showtime all the time, like in like, you know, 1990 or something like that. I saw Short Circuit 2 a lot. In fact, I saw that more than Short Circuit 1, I believe. And I think that's the one that I think is the more, it's the Ghostbusters 2 of it, where it's, you know, a lot of the corners are kind of sanded off. It's a little more kid friendly, that type of thing. But what I do remember though is, and none of this is where you're going with this at all, but you asked, I think that is one of my other bits of robot trauma and empathy, because like there is a scene where old Johnny Five gets his ass kicked, and it is brutal. And like even now thinking about it, because I haven't thought about that scene in you know a million years, but like that is, you know, really upsetting and traumatizing in a way. And I remember at like the end of the movie, there's only a handful of instances where we've used like Bonnie Tyler's holding out for a hero, but like that was the first time I heard that in a movie. And like basically like dude is falling apart. There's like sparks shooting off of him and stuff. But the thing that I remember most vividly is that like his battery pack is like actively leaking, and they have it like tied off with a bandana. I almost said banana.
That would be not effective.
That would not be effective. Well, the bandana wasn't very effective either.
Touche.
Because basically, like he bleeds to death.
Right.
And spoiler alert, he's totally okay and becomes a new gold bug.
Look at this new paint job. I've gone beyond being just plain old Bumblebee. I'm a gold bug.
At the end of the movie.
There's a lot of Transformers parallels in that movie.
Very much so. So that stuff like really, really appealed to me in a big bad way, in a way that like I'm pretty sure I saw 2 before I saw 1, because when I saw 1, I'm just like, It's kind of flat because like I think it's trying to be like a real movie, whereas I think Short Circuit 2 knows what it is and is more accessible. It's more fun and is and I think despite the trauma, kind of more of a kid-friendly romp. Again, like I think Ghostbusters 2 is the equivalent on that. But I've taken us so far afield, like
right.
I don't
Your
remember
synopsis of Short Circuit 2. But where I was going with that is that the movie opens very similar to this episode, in fact, because it's got Ben Javiri from the first movie, and he's selling little Johnny Fives on the street corner. Similar to the way Porter C. Powell is, got these little mini sound waves, but he's just trying to get, off on the foot. He's next to a guy selling Rolexes, right? But a corporate toy buyer comes around and sees it and wants to make this the big toy of the holiday season. And that's why Short Circuit 2, a lot of people forget, is a Christmas movie, because then he goes on to needing to figure out how to like make these things on a mass scale. And that's where Johnny Five comes in, because he can like build them way faster because he's a robot. But yeah, a lot of people forget that's kind of a Christmas movie, and that's where it starts. But I just, there's not a great connection here, but like anytime I have a chance to bring up Short Circuit 2, because it is one of my all-time favorite movies, like nostalgia aside, I just have loved that my whole life.
Well, it sounds like I need to give it another go. I wonder if it's streaming anywhere, because I wonder about some of those kind of like late 80s kind of, kids movie adjacent type of things. Like I tried to watch Flight of the Navigator a couple years ago, and that's a little rough. That's rough going.
That was another film that was very important to my very Michael centric to my life.
Sure. And now I'm just pandering to the audience because I know we have like the folks that really resonated with your out of this world references, in the early episodes. I feel like we got away from that, but I remember stuff like Daryl and like Cloak and Dagger, and that those kind of like, they're kind of kids movies, but also kind of not, but also kind of.
That's like every 80s movie. Every 80s movie was like kind of a kids movie, or you'd have a property like Aliens that they'd make action figures out of,
right,
or Rambo or something. Like it was a very like wishy-washy gray area for what was a kid's property.
Well, let me ask you this, because like we're kind of tiptoeing around it, but so. It's your assertion that Short Circuit 2 is a Christmas movie.
Yes.
What is a Christmas movie, or what are the conditions by which a Christmas movie must be a Christmas movie?
I think it needs to take place on Christmas, but also why Die Hard for me has never felt like a real Christmas movie is that like there needs to be some sort of message about the Christmas spirit to it a little bit. And I think that's where Short Circuit 2, it is all about like, the mass scale producing, we got to get these toys out. And that's kind of what the whole theme of the movie was. Johnny Five came and he was sort of like coming from the hippie colony at this point, right? They replaced his guns with like a toolbox that had a peace flower on it.
Yep.
And like all this stuff. And I think he was supposed to be the juxtaposition between, we got to get these toys out and some money. It's corporate business, blah, blah, blah. And, then we see him kind of just slowing things down, and he's the robot. Like he should be the most technology and like move faster type thing, but he wanted to slow down. I just think that's a lovely image for like the holidays and life in general.
That's a lovely sentiment. I appreciate that. I had a lot of there was a lot of discussions around Thanksgiving. So like more or less, I'm taking my Thanksgiving legislation and imprinting it onto Christmas legislation, because it's like, well, Thanksgiving is coming up. What kind of Thanksgiving movies are there? It's like, well, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yeah, that's fine, but what else? So I did some digging in, and really the only other what I would consider to be a Thanksgiving movie by my Christmas legislation, in that like top down for me, what a Christmas movie needs to be is it's a less elegant, less eloquent version of your rationale, Michael Andrews, is like Christmas needs to be integral to the plot. Like, can this story happen without Christmas? That kind of thing. Yeah. And I think that's where you and I part ways a little bit on the Die Hard thing. Not looking to litigate it here now, but like I feel like that story can't happen over Easter. It has to be Christmas, that kind of thing. Like you have Die Hard sequels that, don't take place at Christmas, but those are different movies. So, but actual mileage may vary, but like, I think it's, the component of it being Christmas and whatever. But my point being is like in my investigation about what is a Thanksgiving movie, I kept seeing examples where there's a Thanksgiving dinner in the movie. So like, is Sam Raimi's Spider-Man a Thanksgiving movie because Thanksgiving happens during the movie and there's a parade? No, I don't think so.
Well, now I don't know.
Oh, boy. Well, I'll send you that list.
Changed my whole mind.
I will send you that list. The only one that really satisfied me as passing muster is Dutch, the Ed O'Neill road trip movie.
Yes,
and it's basically Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Ed O'Neill and a snotty kid. And that one, I think, is a Thanksgiving movie because he's trying to get the kid across country to Thanksgiving. So like that's and it has Thanksgiving is integral to the plot. The rest of them, there was like 30 movies on there. Like there's like a Black Friday zombie movie or some such like that. But like I'm like that doesn't count. Well, just because, there's Thanksgiving at the Parkers, I don't know if Spider-Man is a Thanksgiving movie.
Right.
Yeah, but then again,
I would say not. But
then again, that parade is a pretty extensive action sequence. So I don't know.
It's true. That's a tricky one. That might be another topic for another episode of Too Short, Too Circuit, the minute by minute breakdown of Short Circuit 2. See, we've already gone astray in this fake podcast we're doing within our real podcast.
Yes.
It's very meta. We're getting meta now.
But the thing that I want to underscore with the thing that's interesting, like when we first meet the Autobots, they're really not in the holiday spirit. Like they're being kind of bitchy and cranky about being out on patrol. They're that they're tired, they're cold, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of like an interesting dynamic to kind of start on before you get into this all of this Soundwave toy legislation.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, back at Autobot HQ, they're all kind of, they're making the oil nog, as it were, and they're telling Optimus to get home. And Optimus is sort of like this hard-boiled detective. He's like, the city, has changed me. I see Soundwave everywhere I go. He's very, it's like you can almost hear the voiceover happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he finally, like all of us, caves. He's very much in that what you do around Christmas at work, which is like, you know what, I'm going home. It's the end of the year. It's senioritis. I'm spitting my gum out on the floor. No one's coming. So he's done for the night. He's going home. And the oil nog, which we can get into later, because Lord knows we haven't had enough beverage legislation on this show.
Right.
Sari's preparing this eggnog, this oil nog.
Tell him we're making oil nog.
And we don't know what's in it.
I'm afraid to ask.
But we know that Soundwave seems to have an interest in it because there's a little Soundwave toy. He's wandering around the house here. He does a little zappy zap from his shoulder cannon.
Yep.
Well, actually, this is coming all off of Optimus goes in pursuit of one. So he's already like on the prowl. He kind of goes through this thing. I did want to mention this scene because there's the scene where he like chases after this small toy and he almost gets hit by a train coming along an overpass.
Yeah.
And just the visuals of that really gave me like a 2007 live action vibe, right? Like it's sort of like Optimus clinging under the overpass, holding the kids, like the up you get, like there was some connective tissue there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the moment that sort of was like, all right, I'm getting too old for this shit. I need to go home for the night and stop worrying about this toy.
Well, and there's this other aspect where like he narrowly avoids getting hit by the train and he falls and gets like his leg wedged in like the stanchion, like the upright holding up the track. And I thought it was odd here, like the crowd of civilians see him and they appear to be scared, and I can't clock what they're scared of. Like, because New Detroit knows what the Autobots look like.
Right.
But is it a situation where now in the far-flung future of New Detroit in 2158 or 2159 or how much further we've gone, that like they're just scared of Transformers? That's the way I read it. It's like they're just scared of Transformers. They're like, they don't see faction. They don't know the good ones from the bad ones. It doesn't matter that this guy turned into a fire truck. In fact, they seem kind of upset when he kind of like breaks his fall and turns into a fire truck and takes off. Like that's weirdly upsetting for this crowd of onlookers.
Yeah, it's that's a good point. We'll get to that later. But anyway, yeah, I guess I also would have expected New Detroit to have like a robot Santa right now at Christmas time, like all of Futurama where it sort of has deemed all of humanity evil, and like chases it down. I love that trope on Futurama, but I kind of see New Detroit as like Futurama, like they have a lot of robot stuff going on.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, and it has kind of like a similar kind of like postmodern deco design, a lot of like curves and things like that. I guess I never really saw it that way before, but that totally checks out. I could use a blimp. Right.
Yep. Well, isn't there that blimp that kind of shows like the billboards, and Starscream was like hiding on one?
Oh yeah,
like back in the day. Like there is some kind of blimp billboard thing that goes through the city.
That's right. I think we nailed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, how sick is Autobot HQ? Like they've got a pretty good sized Christmas tree. Decorations are all in effect. There's like street signs everywhere. It feels like they've really made this a home. It looks cozy in a way that it hadn't the last time I saw it, which was very just kind of like utilitarian, like we're living in a factory type of thing.
Right. Yeah, I think that's another kind of important trope of the Christmas special, the decorating everything. And but you're right. I think they almost like there's a different kind of lighting, or they almost painted it with like warmer colors for like a homier feel. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it took me a couple takes to get it, but yeah, it's like street signs and stoplights and all these things that have made up their Christmas tree. It kind of gave that feel of like how Bulkhead's Halloween costume had to be like a fumigation tent. Like they also need, they're instead of bulbs, these little tiny bulbs that their fingers can't handle, they need to be like giant signs and things that they can pick up.
There's I don't know if it's later or if it's here, but there's this legislation about Ratchet being, too literal minded, talking about the magic of Santa Claus. And it's like,
and I'm telling you, there's no way this Santa Claus could deliver billions of presents in one night.
But I thought that this was really sweet. And I feel like this sequence is why you picked this episode for us to do now here at the holiday season, because it's very similar to the Halloween episode in that, like, Sorry Sumdac celebrates the catalog. She loves holidays. And, for as much as she loves Halloween, she also really loves Christmas, and she loves sharing it with her family. That, that you get these tropes and these themes of being, thankful for what you have. And that means family, that kind of thing. But like, I love this line that she says to Ratchet here while he's being, very, surly. And she's just like,
don't try to explain the magic. Just accept the holiday season as a time when dreams come true. It's also a time to be thankful for the things you have. Like family.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, she says something to the effect of like, Christmas is a magic time with family and friends.
That's what it was.
I just thought that sentiment was like so good, and they're toasting, and I'm tearing up already. Like, it was just a great little moment there. That's what I need. I think when we're talking about what makes something a Christmas special or Christmas movie, it needs to have that. It just needs to have that kind of warm fuzzies moral about Christmas time.
Yeah, and I think the key word is warmth. I think you nailed it. I think that's That's exactly it. And, you know, as we said, they toast via the oil nog, which, you know, even before the little Soundwave minions, you know, kind of do whatever spiking they do to it. Right. I would imagine that there's something going on with oil nog anyway.
That's right.
And maybe now's as good a time as any for fluid legislation, you know, because it's like, so in this case, we're back to oil is beer, essentially.
Yeah, or like rum or brandy or something even, right? That you're adding to your eggnog.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong. Is it at some point like stirring it like a cauldron or something like that? Is she like doing something to it?
Yeah.
So there's some kind of like further refining to it. Yeah. So very much kind of like a hot buttered rum type of thing.
Right. So they all chug this nog and they kind of pass out. They sort of wander off to their rooms.
They get real sleepy.
They're getting drowsy and dreary. I think it'd be really funny at this point if you like cut to the Soundwave action figure and be like, I didn't do anything to it. Like I just heated it up. Like it's just normal alcoholic amounts. They just passed out from drinking.
Right. Yeah, you just cut all the Soundwave stuff out of it.
Yeah,
and it's like
getting drunk at a Christmas party.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like I think that would have happened anyway. So
right. Well, you might be dissecting this just right, because maybe for this whole thing to work, maybe for their confusion, like if it had just been something like, you know, fruit punch, it wouldn't have had the same effect. But they knew that they were drinking, you know, oil nog, which you know, they didn't think it was weird that they got sleepy and went to bed after it. Maybe that's just the tradition.
And it's something that I don't see enough of. I do like a sleepy robot, you know, it's like, I'm just going to go to bed. Like, I mean, that's something that's just something so rare that you see in Transformers, you know, just something like delightfully slice of life, just like where it's just like, I'm sleepy, I'm going to go to bed now. And to the fact where like the robots go to sleep before the rambunctious human teenager.
Yes, yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Even that kind of thing.
They go to their slabs and pass out. And this is what I really love about this Christmas special. Not just talking about this episode of Transformers, but just holding it alone as like a holiday special. What I really like is that the music here turns terrifying. The vision blurs. This to me is like more traditional, like Christmas Carol. You know, back in the day, there was that sort of Christmas tradition about telling scary stories, you know, like a spooky parable around the fire at the end of Christmas. I've always really liked the versions of the Christmas Carol that sort of lean into the horror element of it. Not the ones that are made for like campy horror, but there's a very cool one like on FX. It was like a 6-part special or something like that really got into like the terrifyingness of A Christmas Carol. And so I think that's what I really like about this one. As much as I love the warm fuzzies, this one's got a message. It's mysterious, you know, it's confusing and it's spooky. Like I like that about it. That to me also kind of checks the box for Christmas specials.
And so we get into it, you know, Optimus awakes presumably the next morning, which I guess point of order, and maybe this resolves as we go now that I think about it. Like, have we gone from Christmas Eve to Christmas Day? Like, is the next day Christmas Day now? Is that the implication?
Yeah.
Because I know throughout the episode there's several instances of folks saying it's Christmas, ! You know, that kind of thing. But it's interesting in kind of like from a postmodern perspective, it's Christmas means a number of things to a number of people. Like that could be Christmas Eve, that could be Christmas Day, that could be the weekend before or after the holiday, depending upon when the holiday actually falls versus like, you know, when you go to your family's place versus work functions like you had mentioned. Like,
or like Christmas time, one word kind of encapsulates.
Yeah.
You know, the end of December, early to January for some folks that celebrate.
Exactly. So I didn't have quite a handle on what that was, but I guess when you think about it in terms of like holiday traditions, Sorry Sumdac spends part of Christmas Eve in the evening time with the Autobots. And then she leaves and goes home back to Sumdac Tower, presumably to spend Christmas Eve with her dad, which we don't see in this particular instance, but I think that's what the implication is.
Yeah, there was something real and relatable about that too, especially, you know, as you get into adult, and a lot of times you have to find a way to have two kind of Christmases in one when you know, if you partner off with somebody. There was just something cool about that. It's like Christmas Eve was for her found family, and then she's still spending it with her dad Christmas morning. Kind of like
exactly. Yeah, exactly. That was exactly my read as well. So Optimus wakes up and
hungover as hell.
Oh my God. And just like the voice work that David Kaye does here. I mean, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the voice work for these auto men, as we will soon to learn them. But like you could tell he's hungover, and it's just like, I do not want to be awake right now. But then like the frightening realization when, like, after he, you know, like gets all the goobers out of his eyes and he realizes that he's got man hands.
My hands.
He's got like Uma Thurman man hands. It's like, he's like, I think that was the thing that set him off more than oh my God, my hands are human hands. And he falls right out of bed, and he is having a hard time with it. Like, does he have like a mirror close by or something like that?
Yeah. He wanders over to the mirror, kind of bleary eyed, and as his vision comes into focus, his poor frail human vision now, he sees his visage in the mirror.
By the Allspark.
Which, I mean, we're going to get into it, but it's a handsome guy. I don't think he should have been too shocked. I think he should have been. I'd have been a little happy if I woke up looking like that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, well, no kidding. I mean, like, and he kind of does the Kevin McAllister aftershave type of thing, you know, kind of like, again, keeping it within a Christmas canon here. But yeah, I mean, I guess since you mentioned it, we'll kind of unpack it here. It's like, yeah, freaking Optimus is a smoke show. Like he is a handsome dude.
My exact notes say salt and pepper fox.
Yeah. I mean, he's got like the freaking like Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four, you know, gray temples type of thing, you know, the freaking Hal Jordan Green Lantern, you know, Nick Fury, gray temples. But he's also got like a relatively youthful haircut, and it's like kind of like swooped up. It's a real Mike Seibert he's got going on here. If I'm being real honest. And you know, it's interesting. Like, so I go to a lot of Transformers conventions, TFCon and whatnot. I am surprised that I don't see more people cosplaying as this particular group. Like, if you want to get like a group cosplay, it's like, do these guys. But at the very least, I want to see how hard it is to make that jacket. Because, like, I think I could pull off that Optimus there.
Oh, that'd be a great look. Because
I think that, I mean, that really resonated with. I don't do a whole lot of cosplay myself, but like that seems like something that would be like very much in my wheelhouse. I was in the shower this morning, kind of oscillating between that or if I do the Ratchet, and I think the Ratchet is almost a little too salty for my taste.
Sure. Well, real quick, before we break down their looks, I guess pulling back the curtain here, just pulling the Band-Aid off, they're human. They all wake up human.
Yeah.
This is the clutch thing. But Mike, did you have one of these moments of like, oh, that's what the episode title was about? Like, did you know this is where it was going and this was going to happen? Were you like, oh shit, it's one of those human ones?
I knew that this was the episode where they're humans, because I don't remember where it was revealed to me, but it was not before we had decided to do the episode. I think it was something like I clicked on or, you know, went into it and saw the thumbnail for it or something like that. And I knew that like I've seen these human characters somewhere before, probably in memes or fan art or something, but like I've seen these guys before. You know, one of the thing that I would have liked to have been a surprise is that Bumblebee is canonically a small boy, that he's like an actual child, that kind of thing. It's like I would have liked to have had that been a surprise, but that's, you know, I mean, I'm playing with fire watching a 15-year-old show, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
But like I said, I've seen glimpses of this before out of context. So, but that's what I was talking about like an hour ago when I was saying, like, you know, the more I see, the more immersed I become, the more vulnerable I become for spoilers. Like if I would have seen Bumblebee as a small boy 3 to 5 years ago, that would have meant nothing to me. But if I saw it last year, suddenly that means everything to me, because now I know that, like, in this version of their avatars, and we could kind of discuss about like how these avatars come to be, where do they come from, that type of thing. But regardless, the long and short of it is that Bumblebee is a child.
Yeah, he's a tiny little baby stinker, like little kid.
I would have loved to have had a slingshot in his back pocket.
Yes, exactly. Go full Dennis the Menace, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, you were talking about how Optimus would make a good cosplay for you. I was sort of oscillating between B and Ratchet. Like B for me already wears shorts and a yellow hat. That's kind of my jam.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my look. But Ratchet is basically Tim Allen and Santa Claus before he goes full Santa. It's just kind of sweatsuit, tracksuit, just kind of old man. I thought that was so funny. Like, it's just matching sweatpants and sweater. Like, that's comfort. That's like maybe like the casual con look, like the Sunday, like before you go home, you want to get one costume in. It's just kind of the sweatsuit that sort of looks like the character. He's almost like old man cosplaying himself.
Oh my gosh. I love that. That's perfect. I am surprised that they didn't give him a little more punch. Like, I mean, like Ratchet is relatively built. He's pretty svelte. He's got, like I would say like an average body type, whereas in his robot form, we talked about this in the flashback episode, where basically like his gut in Cybertronian mode in ancient Cybertron is flipped upside down to where it goes from like a broad chest to kind of like a saggy belly, that type of thing. But
yeah, I could have gone with a little more of a gut too, maybe
just
some
a
more
little bit
representation of me, so I could look up on the screen and see myself in a character. Yeah, I could have.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just talking about as representation of the character, as
For sure.
And because like the other characters match so perfectly. I mean, again, we've talked about Optimus, but like, I mean, again, Prowl he's a cop. He's a momotorcycle cop.
Well, he's his avatar, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. You beat me to it. I was going to say, it's like, we've seen this already. This isn't new. And it got me to think, it's like, wait a sec, have we seen hollow avatars of any other characters? And the answer is no. It's like, you don't have anybody driving the Autobots, that type of thing.
Well, I think, that you bring up something interesting there, because I think it lends itself to his abilities of projecting holograms of himself. Maybe he's the only one that's been able to do this. So maybe what we were seeing in those holograms was sort of like the residual self-image. Like maybe this is how he thinks of himself as a human. So now that they're actually human, that's what we're seeing. Where the other characters didn't have the ability to like do that and show what they look like in human form. So yeah, there's something there. Like, I guess it's interesting. Like, I always kind of thought that his holographic driver sort of came with the frame a little bit, right?
Yeah,
like this is what's just built into the scan, but that's him projecting himself. That's kind of how he sees himself a little bit, I guess.
Which and that's something that kind of comes up more in the IDW comics and like More Than Meets the Eye. How what your avatar is really a representative of you. Like like Cyclonus is like an elegant Victorian era lady. That kind of thing. Whirl is a stinky teenage girl with an eye patch. That kind of thing. It's interesting to kind of take that perspective and look at it through this lens, because again, this is years before any of those comics. I mean, this is April of 2009, lest we forget. But then, and you also have Bulkhead, who is kind of like this big jock football player. I mean, to the point where he's even got like numbers on his shirt, like his.
Oh, I love this design. I think this might be my favorite of all of them. I really like this look.
Yeah, see, and again, it's like it's interesting that you don't see people cosplaying this, because this seems like it's so easy. I also kind of wanted to talk about that, like, with Bulkhead in particular, you see that it's some of the avatars look like the actors more than others. Like Bulkhead is kind of a take on Bill Fagerbach. Like he's got kind of like a similar hairstyle. And again, going back to Optimus, I mean, like that is David Kaye. That is what David Kaye looks like in animation. And again,
that's a good point. That's going back to I'm thinking back to the show Coach, which Bill Fagerbach was on, kind of got his start on. Like his whole character was like, he was one of the senior players that was kind of, had moved into the assistant coach gig. That's pretty crazy. Yeah. I wonder if knowing that kind of led into like, well, let's make him a football player. Like, I guess I'm wondering if you're looking at the design going, okay, what does Bulkhead kind of look like with the green and the star? Oh, a football uniform. Or was it a little bit like, let's take some inspiration from this earlier Bill Fagerbach role? Whereas
Ratchet is almost too generic to be Corey Burton. Like,
sure.
Corey Burton just kind of looks like a dude. It's like, I don't know. Some people just look like dudes. And whereas I would say like Bill Fagerbach and David Kaye kind of have kind of like a unique look, and Bumper Robinson as well. And that's the harder one because you have like the age thing there.
Well, I was going to say that's the connective tissue between Ratchet and Bumblebee, is that they're in this show, they're extreme ages where their voice actors are not. So
that's interesting. I'm glad we litigated that.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, that worked out. That worked out pretty well. So regardless, they're humans and they're having these misadventures. Having each of their own Kevin McAllister-esque discoveries that they're all humans, but what it underscores very quickly once they get together is that somebody's missing. Nobody knows where Prowl is off to.
Where's Prowl? He's not in his room. I checked.
And we get into the scene that I should have seen coming, but somehow didn't. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Holy shit, when we catch up with Prowl outside of the base here.
Yeah.
And now that first of all, he accepts his humanity instantly. And what is the first thing he wants to do? Experience nature. He's just like, letting the snow fall on his hands. And it's like, and if that isn't like the most beautiful Prowl thing, I don't know what is, but that really hit me.
It's zoomed in, it catches on his hand and melts. Like there's just, they don't rush the moment at all. And there's another, I think it's so interesting because this is such good writing of Prowl. There's another version of this where, they're all Kevin McAllister Home Alone aftershave, right? They all wake up on their slabs and go, oh no, we're human. But this is really smart to be like, he's not there, he's outside, because that is the first thing Prowl would do. This is the Prowl that we know. I mean, we've had 2 seasons now where it's like, this is it harkened back to Home is Where the Spark Is, right? It felt like to me like him looking up at that big tree in his room. Like there was just something as beautiful about that. And so we've been leading to this moment. Like this is just so smart.
Well, and to add semantics to it, I'm sure all of the Autobots have like a charging slab that's, off to the side or whatever, like we saw with Optimus. But we know that Prowl's room has that tree growing through it, and it's going through the roof. So there's an aspect of that space that's uncovered. Now that it's snowing on Christmas Day in New Detroit, the snow is coming into the base. So I'm sure Prowl wakes up and sees the snow on the tree, and he's probably just like, what beauty, that kind of thing. And probably like climbs up the tree and then makes his way outside. And he's like, now he's just skybound Optimus at some point. He just puts his arm in. He's like, oh my God, what majestic beauty this is. Really beautiful moment.
Yeah, it's awesome. But I also like here that it is, they're capturing that same moment of him experiencing this natural beauty, but instead of twisting it in the way you think it's going to go, he actually draws the conclusion that something isn't quite right. And this is the first inkling that you have is weird. So instead of him leaning hard and soliloquying about nature and beauty and everything, he's like, something's not right. That something's off. And it's not even that they're human. It transcends that. It's not just that, we're human. It's like, no, something I could accept being human. There's actually something more at work here.
Well, and one last thing on the prowl catch and snowflakes thing. I didn't quite clue into this at first, but when he's catching the snowflakes, his hand is in a glove. It's a gloved hand. So it's adding another degree of melancholy to it. He's not even catching it on his bare hand and feeling the snowflakes on his bare hand or feeling it melt or anything like that. There's a certain degree of detachment to it also.
Right.
Which I thought kind of added another degree as well.
That's deep.
So regardless, they decide that they have human friends and maybe they can help. They're going to go to Somedeck Tower and catch up with Sari because surely she's got some kind of solution to this.
Right. Well, I also think here, too, it's interesting that Optimus kind of proposes that their minds may have... The only theory they have so far is that their minds may have been somehow planted in human bodies, which I think is cool because that's the exact plot of Only Human, the G1 episode, which, I also wanted to get your take on that. Were you just like, were you having major throwback vibes to G1? Like, was this like feeding right into it?
Yeah.
Not to get into your score right now, but...
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I'm like... I think I even said out loud, like, oh, so we're doing Only Human. Cool.
Yeah. I thought it was really smart of the show to sort of like play off that or to like bring up, their only theory is like the exact part of the show. And by bringing that up, something else is going on or like, or is this a retread of that? Like it's very clever, like that it knew what it was doing.
And then we get into my favorite bit of the entire episode because we know I love legislation and like there's so much litigation here so Optimus has decided that it's time to roll, but are they... And we know how much affection I have for an Autobots transform and roll out. And so like, I love the deconstruction of the cadence of that entire set. He's like Autobot. Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Well, so we're going to transfer. Nope. I guess we're going to roll. Nope. I guess not. And I love it because like, it feels like this joke goes on for like a month and a half because it's like he's litigating each individual step into where finally they just walk.
Roll. Let's just go.
Right. Let's just go. Yeah, I think that's so crazy. Like you never realize how every syllable of his classic line is so tied to them being robots and vehicles until this moment. Like as a human, he can't say it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So they are auto men and they're just gonna walk off.
Right. I almost felt like there was going to be some kind of like a musical number, right? Like we're the Auto Men. Like, who's writing this?
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny. I mean, spoilers alert. But like as they're walking in the snow, I'm just like, just take a bus. Just get on the bus.
Right.
as they are walking through the snow, and I don't remember if it's here or later, but they're having like this whole discussion in legislation about like, how do humans survive in the cold, that kind of thing. And Ratchet in particular, just like I think of like everybody, we talked about how Prowl is kind of like at peace. The others are kind of like in varying scales of whatever, but Ratchet more than anybody else is the person who is just not having it.
Right.
He is just not happy at all with any aspect of his of his situation whatsoever.
Colin the Ratchet story. I mean, that's pretty on brand for this guy.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so the next scene up, we got to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
The Sumdac family Christmas, another great scene. I think this is another box checked for being a holiday special. And it's also very funny because, they're having like this, it's the Christmas morning opening the presents. And Isaac Sumdac gives Sari a Soundwave toy after all his complaining about patents and Porter C. Powell. He gives the guy some money and buys the Soundwave toy for his daughter. I love this so much. It's like this running joke that he's like fascinated by it, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's set off in that commercial. He's like, I have to know how it works. And it's $20. I can spare $20 to maybe I can reverse engineer this thing.
Right. Michael Andrew's favorite.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, baby.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's so good. But
yeah, you're right. And I think he thinks it's cool. I mean, regardless of the, being confounded by the price point and all of that, like, when Sari is complaining about it and he's like,
but he sings and dances.
He is genuinely impressed with this. He does think it's cool.
Right. I don't know. It's almost, I'm trying to think of like a real life equivalent or a more normal equivalent, but it's like if you kind of came up with something and someone stole the idea and patented it, you'd be like, well, I still want one though. Like I still want to see the thing that came out with it.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild though. And yeah, we see him like, as the scene ends, we'll get to that, but like we see him dancing to it kind of just like he did when he first, like that's what he's always loved about this thing. He loves the little Soundwave song.
He loves the Soundwave song. I mean, I think that's what it is more than anything. It just, there are certain songs that just touch us in a certain way and just connects with us on a deeper level. And like my dude, Isaac Sumdac just has the Soundwave song in his soul.
Right. It's like cut to like an older version of him in like a senior center and he has Alzheimer's and then like they put the headphones on him playing the Soundwave song and he's like,
ding, 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 ding. Dun, 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 dun. Oh my gosh. But yeah, let's get into this though, because like, so Sari is obviously not impressed with the Soundwave, regardless of the fact that it's made in China. Right. It's like, because like, I mean,
the tariffs on it must be very high.
Yes, very high. But then like, this scene is kind of interesting for me because like you kind of get over the Soundwave legislation and this moment kind of crystallizes who Sari Sumdac is. Good for good or ill, good, bad, or indifferent, because she's like, all right, well, what else do you got for me? And like, and
old Sari, right?
Exactly. So, and Isaac, her dad, is kind of on that same wavelength. It's like, yeah, no, I know Soundwave didn't do it for you, but hey, man, I got you this. There's one more present. And she's like, oh, holy shit, another giant box. So it's like that is what their dynamic is. And both of them just, accept that. And that is what it is. But it gets into this thing where she opens it up and it's a scooter. And me, first time viewer, looking, I'm like, a lot of robot bits on that scooter, huh? I wonder.
A lot of kibble.
Yeah,
exactly. It's got a lot of kibble on it.
It's got like a lot of like, joints and doodads. I'm like, there's more than meets the eye with that scooter. And sure enough, Sari's being kind of a little snot about it. Not really excited to get a scooter.
Thanks, Dad. But I was kind of hoping for something with 4 wheels.
But then, Isaac reveals, and of course, it turns into a jetpack.
A freaking jetpack. Hell yeah.
Which is
every
pretty
kid's
rad.
Dream, every adult's dream, everyone's dream.
And I love the design of this, like the way that it fits as like a harness around her. It I have a like back in the 90s they made like this deluxe Boba Fett figure that basically like it's like a winged missile station thing, but it has the same thing where it kind of like has this like almost like roller coaster kind of like crossbar that fits in front. There's like some like armor bits on the front and stuff like that. So that, for me, that's kind of what I think like a cool like jetpack harness would look like, something where it's got like, some front stuff, maybe like some handles to hang on to and of course some bitchin' wings as well. This is a very cool design on this jetpack here.
Yeah. Well, what I love about it kind of checks two boxes for me. For one, this is like a real like anime trope, right? The motorcycle that becomes armor or a mech suit or something like that. Like this is really leaning into like the anime trope of the whole show. I just love that. And speaking of anime, it's also designed, I have to think that this scooter and this look is like a nod to Transformers Armada, the other TFA, if you will. Yeah. Because it looks almost exactly like Alexis's Minicon Sure Shock from the Armada anime. I mean, go ahead, look it up. We can post a pic of it, but like,
sure,
yeah, there's definitely some visual connective tissue here to that character.
Absolutely. And, and this, I think, is one of the times where you have influenced by something that actually happened in the past, because this is long past Armada and any of the Unicron trilogy stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of picked up on that as well. It's like, so, yeah, when I saw like, Kibble and Doodads on there, my first thought was Minicon. That like, does he turn into a little dude? That kind of thing.
Well, and we know the Unicron trilogy and Armada is has DNA in this show, right? Because there was one version of animated where Bumblebee was going to be Hotshot. So like that, whole iteration, that whole time frame is on the minds of the people drawing the show.
Well, and the folks at Hasbro are still some of the same folks. Like Aaron Archer is still very much a part of this, that kind of thing. 100%. So yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But this this scene does kind of hit a little funny for me and a little sour for me in that, like, so sorry, like on one hand talks about the magic of the season and, thankful for what you have, like family, but then immediately give me more cool shit. There is an inherent greed in there. Now, that probably comes from Isaac Sumdak's upbringing of her upbringing and things like that. So it's like, I mean, I don't want to necessarily spend a lot of time unpacking the codependency of doting parents and greedy children, but like it was kind of a splash of cold water for me, where I'm just like, and as soon as she gets the jetpack, Christmas is over. Bye. I'm going to go hang out with my friends, and whatever happened to being thankful for what you have, like family, that kind of thing. Sure. So it hit me a little funny, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. But I think, to be fair, it's not like we get this moment of like Isaac Sumdak being sad to watch his daughter go. He basically got her a present that he wanted to keep for himself, and we see him dancing with it. So he's actually pretty pumped. So yeah, you're right. It's like it's a two-way street. I think it would be worse if it was like she took off and then we see like a single tear roll down Isaac Sumdak's face. That would have been too much for me.
Well, and as I said, it's like they both buy into this. It's like they know what that's what the dynamic is. So it's like, when Isaac gave Sorry the Soundwave, he knew he had a jetpack. It's like he needs like an appetizer, that kind of thing. It's he needs something to throw in there, that kind of thing. Kind of like when, you're getting a Nintendo, but you're going to get like a bunch of like Ninja Turtles before that. So you have something to open. So you're opening something more than just the Nintendo, that kind of thing. So I get that, but yeah, like, as I said, and not for nothing, the thing that also stuck with me is like, this is very consistent with Sari's character. So it's not like I don't think she's acting any differently.
Right.
And in fact, it's kind of interesting, legislation aside, just accepting that she's presumably some kind of teenager. I guess, like, for me, I'm guessing like 12, maybe 13, something like that, not old teen, young teen. Sure. That's just kind of where my brain places it. But personality wise, it doesn't really feel like she's really changed a lot. Like, she looks a little different, obviously. And even we haven't gotten into this at all, but she does sound a little different. Like Tara Strong has changed the vocal delivery a little bit. Like, it's a little less high, it's a little less squeaky. It's still the same voice, but like you could hear that Tara Strong has knocked it down like a single octave or something like that. It's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
When and I don't know if I really noticed that until maybe like deeper into part 2 where she talks more. But like, yeah, there's a few scenes where I'm just like, oh, she's making a choice to do a aged up version of the same voice, which, I mean, again, voice actors and voice talent, that is just something incredible, to where you can do a voice that's not your own and then change it to reflect age and maturity. That's just bonkers.
Yeah,
to me.
that's layers, man. That's awesome. I'm really glad you brought up all of this. The fact that she's aged up and this whole thing about how she's still the same old Sari, because when you see what happens in the season start proper, this is going to be a really interesting discussion for then. I'll just leave it at that.
Sure.
But like I said, I'm really glad you took note of that, because we're definitely going to have a talk about it.
Absolutely.
So across town, I got to get to this scene, because as much as you love that scene, I'm hungry. And they go to, now we're this is where you were talking about, they're outside, they're complaining about the cold. Bumblebee says he needs some antifreeze.
How do humans survive in these soft, fleshy bodies?
And I thought at this moment, okay, thank you. Finally, someone gets it. Like, us humans are cold, especially in winter. We're just little coldies that don't want to go anywhere. We just want to stay home with warm blankets. I really felt seen in this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And like they get like splashed with slush as cars are driving by at some point, and Bulkhead realizes he's hungry. He's getting the tummy grumbles.
Yeah.
Which
there's a suggestion that these bodies may need to refuel. And that's where right. Now we're talking. I feel seen twice in this scene.
Yeah. I love that antifreeze joke from Bumblebee, though. It's just like,
that's a good bit.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I need some antifreeze.
So they go to the Burger Bot, which we've seen before.
Yep.
And yeah, I think it's cut to Bulkhead just shoving burgers down his face, not unlike Jughead Jones.
Yeah, he does this. He says he's always wanted to chow down, and then
that's right.
Cut to him like eating in this. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I thought this was such an interesting moment, because it's never actually coded that Bulkhead is gluttonous in robot mode. Like, he's not treated like the stereotypical fat character on, early 90s shows, which is like, oh, I'm so hungry and all I care about is oil or food or whatever the hell they eat.
Right.
He's never been coded like that. But in this moment, I don't know if it's just the stereotyping of like the hungry teenage football player always got to be eating or what, but it tracks. I never even second thought this scene in the few times that I've seen this episode that, yeah, Bulkhead would be super hungry and like shove some food in his face. But he's not really like that in robot mode. No, except for when he runs across the Constructicons and gets a taste for the oil. But I think that's just more influence from those bad kids, that kind of thing. Exactly.
But
in fact, Bumblebee, I would assume would be more like hungry to try some food or like pig out on something. Bulkhead's never struck me like that.
Yeah, because Bumblebee is always enabling Sorry, like wanting to like eat candy and that kind of thing. It's have more of a component of mischief, that kind of thing. But I want to take this Bulkhead thing a step further, because I think you're onto something. It's like that's not his coding, but listen to literally what he says in the dialogue. He says, "I've always wanted to chow down." So it's like an aspirational thing that he's never done before, and now he has the opportunity to experience something different in this new human form,
right?
Which I never really thought of, because like if it was like like the stereotypical fat kid character, it'd be like, oh man, I need cheeseburgers. Like there would be a compulsion to it. This is a little different. It's just like, oh, wait a sec. There's new experiences I can have. It's almost kind of like the inverse of Prowl's attitude, where, Prowl is like, I accept this humanity instantly. And I just want to feel the snow melt on my hands, that kind of thing. Like he's, he is into it, like the holistic nature of it here.
Well, this actually tracks too, because, Prowl and Bulkhead have always had kind of a special bond. They had the Dinobot Island experience between them.
Mm-hmm.
Bulkhead's kind of fallen into that camp, and I think he's just catching up with what Prowl's already like thought about all this. He's been, since the very first episode, he's been trying to figure out like what it would feel like to be human. I think so. He's just living in it. So I think now we're seeing Bulkhead in season 3, where Prowl was at season 1, and being like, I want to try some things. I want to experience what it's like to be a human. Now I'm actually giving it a second thought, what it must be like.
Right. Well, and it's interesting also in that perspective of Prowl being ahead, he opts for the salad instead of the hamburgers. And I love this line here. He's just like,
I chose the vegetable fuel because it burns cleaner.
Like, he's looking as like cleaner burning fuel. And I freaking love that.
Right. And he says, don't you know where that animal flesh comes from? Like, this is a deep conversation for animated show in 2009, right? Like,
yes,
this is coming to fruition now in present day.
Mm-hmm.
This was a conversation that was way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And I also thought it was interesting too, because first of all, pitch perfect for Prowl, right? Like, you respect all life. Of course, he's a vegan.
Of course,
when he becomes a human. Second of all, I just thought it was funny the way he worded it was vegetable fuel. We have a word for that now. Like, we say plant-based. It's a very common phrase on menus everywhere. You hear the word plant-based. But I think if plant-based would have been said as the line in 2009, I think people would have been like, are you talking about like ethanol, like corn-based gasoline? Like,
right.
I don't think plant-based fuel,
like biodiesel, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I just thought that was a really interesting, like, because my first instinct was like, why didn't he say plant-based? What is vegetable fuel? Like, we have a word for that, but only now do we have a word for
that. We didn't have a word for that in 2009. That hadn't been invented yet. I mean, we're still years away from like, Impossible Burgers and things of that nature. I mean, like, at this point, we're still making like tofu jokes. That kind
exactly.
Of thing.
Right.
Yeah,
it was like seen as really, bad or dumb, right? I mean, it's even played like that here, right? Like, oh, you got a salad? Why? When you can eat cheeseburgers.
Right. But then we find out immediately that consuming so many cheeseburgers so quickly has digestive consequences.
Though this is one of the things that animated does so well, and this scene is no exception. We go from this really kind of like deep conversation to a poop joke, like almost instantly. And it is great because he goes from it plays off that line of,
don't you know where that animal flesh comes from?
And Bulkhead says, I don't know where it comes from, but I know where it's going. But ironically, he does not know where it's going, because all of a sudden he's like, uh-oh. he's like Kevin Malone from The Office. Oh no. Like,
exactly.
I gotta go.
Well, yeah. And there is kind of like there's like an icky double meaning there because, like, you know, he knows where it's going and he knows where it's going, that kind of thing.
Right.
And, you know, I don't know if it's even worth talking about because it's a throwaway joke, but like, how much do the Auto Men know about how the human body works? Because like Bulkhead seems to know instinctively immediately to go to the bathroom. Like that's like where does that bit of learning come from? That kind of thing.
Well, I assume he's been watching a lot of like Disney Channel shows with Sari. And this is just 90% of the humor from like those early 2000s Disney shows. So maybe he's up on it somehow.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So he knows about using the bathroom through poop jokes, not from somebody explaining to him how to use the bathroom. Yeah. He just knows that that's a thing. I wonder if there's like a scene where, because I mean, again, that's the joke in these. It's always like, you know, like the restroom door or something like that. I could have used like one extra moment of him getting into the door and then being confused. He's like, well, now what? You know, that kind of thing.
How do I use the 3 seashells?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of one of those things. But like,
yeah, I have to. Right, like it's sort of like he's probably seen like iCarly with like Gibby, like when you eat something like this, like you have to run to the bathroom right after it. But
right,
this is new, and I just can't get over. Maybe this is like coming from the version of me that worked at a restaurant for like 5 years. Like I just have to imagine Bulkhead like destroyed that fast food restaurant.
Oh,
right, like
yeah,
like cracked the porcelain, the poor food service worker that's gonna have to clean that up for like minimum wage, like. I just couldn't get over that.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, you know, stuff up and down the walls, on the ceiling.
Yeah,
it's
he
just
wrecked
like,
it.
Yeah, it's like how, I mean, you just have to burn it all down, salt the earth, rebuild.
Well, and you know how Bulkhead is everywhere, right? Like he's pretty much swinging around destroying. Can you imagine him having his first bowel movement?
We've seen him paint.
Yes. So, you said it.
But I love this diner scene because, like, I mean, again, as if you needed more reason to love Prowl. And I think, like, I mean, I don't know if the reclamation of Prowl is complete here, but like this point where he's playing peekaboo with the baby.
Here I am. Peekaboo. I'm over here.
That is just sweet and wholesome. He's like boogie, 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 boogie. And it like takes a while because I think we're intercutting with like the food legislation too, because like I think like Prowl is just doing this in the background. You just kind of like hear off camera, like, oh, boogie, 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 you know, that kind of thing. You don't quite know what's happening until they cut to it. But yeah, no, I just thought that was really sweet and really cute. And again, Prowl seems to like organics and love nature, and he is a holistic dude.
Yeah, well, that scene with Peekaboo with the baby is really important because it's we've kind of talked about how the Autobots in this show are more tantamount to like superheroes or like the Avengers. And I think this is what all superheroes go through at some point, is like we're defending a people that don't like us, right? Like we're defending humans. They don't really understand us. Yeah. Why are we even doing this? Because Ratchet has this line of like,
you think she'd be laughing if you were a giant robot?
This moment, I don't think you'd be able to play this game with this baby. And he's absolutely right. They wouldn't accept him.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I have to mention this too before we move past this diner scene, because there's a huge Easter egg here. As we're panning back to the table, we get a shot of 3 people at the booth ordering from the server. First of all, the server is credited as being named Lisa Kane, and I can't find anything else about Lisa Kane appearing anywhere else, but they decided to give this character a first and last name. But I recognize these characters right away. Well, one of them right in the middle is animated Marty Eisenberg.
Oh, okay.
I love it. That's an action figure I need in my life. Like, give me the animated version of Marty Eisenberg. That's my guy. The other 2 characters that are surrounding him is like a little kid with like a Band-Aid on his head, and then like a purple sunglasses guy on the other side of Marty. You might not know what these are from, Mike, but I know that this is 2 pretty obscure characters from Super God Master Force, which, as you know, I'm a connoisseur of, right?
Sure.
The little boy is Cancer, who you might know better as Squeeze Play, the kind of snake, purple, blue. And the older gent with the glasses is Hydra. And I think you'd really like Hydra, Mike, because his armored form is very much like a Cobra Commander on like Mutagen Ooze, like Super Shredder, but for Cobra Commander. So very cool. You got to look that up sometime.
Yeah, I got to look into that. Because that sounds rad.
But I just couldn't get over, like, is there a more Michael Andrews Easter egg you can put in this whole show? 2 obscure Master Force characters and the man myth legend himself.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. This is for me, baby.
We have spent so much time, so many logged podcast hours talking about how these things are for me, Mike Seibert. And it's
finally one for the Gipper.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and finally you deliver. Well, not only do you give one to Michael Andrews, but you deliver in a big bad way, and that's really cool. It's like, sometimes fate gives something back, that kind of thing.
Yeah, jokes aside, I really felt like that one was for me. That was a really cool one.
Yeah, I'm glad you clocked that, because like the camera lingers just enough to where it's like, oh, this is a thing, but like I didn't entirely clock what it was.
Yeah, it was just long enough to be like, there's something I should know about these guys, but
yeah, and then it just kind of moves on. Well, and while we're talking about diner patrons, obviously the 2005 era Witwicky family is there. You got you got a Spike and a Daniel sitting in a booth, and then I believe the baby is the titular baby that Prowl is playing peekaboo with. I believe that's Carly that's hanging on to him. Because in fact, I think it's after the diner scene here with the Decepticon attack. I think it's all 4 of them. It's Spike, Carly, Daniel, and now this baby, which I am kind of. Now, as I said before, throughout this whole thing, that like I am vulnerable to spoilers and to put pieces together and draw lines that one of the questions that I didn't want to discuss and have answered is how much time has passed. It's a Mike Seibert trope. How much time has passed? When does this happen? That type of thing. Because like now that you see Sorry as she is, to me, that's a clue. Now, that could mean any number of things. And unfortunately, I feel like seeing the Witwickies with a baby tells me how much time has passed since the Retgar episode. And I'm like, I wish I hadn't seen that, or I wish I didn't know that. Because now, unfortunately, I know that no time has passed, and this is just in sequence with everything else. But like in this imaginary Ghost of Christmas Future, this is a glimpse type of thing. Prowl looks different. Sorry looks different. The bass looks different. You could tell me that years have passed, and I would have bought it. And really, I think the only clue to that is the baby, unfortunately. Sure. And that kind of shatters the illusion just a little bit.
Not to get too far ahead here in the episode,
man,
but you have to remember that this is happening within this sort of fever dream simulation, right? So this isn't real time. This could just be what is perceived by, maybe this is like Soundwave's snapshot of New Detroit at the time he last remembers. So we can't read too far into that.
Oh man, because we're about to get in a whole lot of Matrix legislation, and which is
why Michael Andrews likes this episode.
Yeah, of course. I mean, well, the peak of humanity was in 1999, which when you think about it, that's like, oh, 1999, that's freaking rotten with new metal. Does that mean like it's all like, Limp Bizkit and Korn? And it's like
they weren't able to do any better than this.
You're telling me that 1999 is the peak of humanity? Mission Impossible 2 isn't even out yet. Come on, man. You just got regular Dagler Mission : Impossible. You got what? The freaking U2? You got The Edge playing the theme song? Come on, man. No West Borland, no Limp Bizkit. Come on, man.
We've got the chocolate starfish. I don't need the strawberry or the vanilla version. Yeah. We've seen the best. The pinnacle is the chocolate.
Oh, do not drink that hot dog flavored water. It is bad for you. But I love the perspective of doubt that you've implanted into these proceedings, Michael Anders. I really like it. So, but no time for further diner shenanigans because, like, holy shit. I'm like, this entire action sequence. And again, I'm just watching this. Like, as far as I know, this is just happening. Like the auto men go to the diner. They play a little peekaboo. You blow up a bathroom or two. I don't know if it's scenes deleted, but a joke I really could have used here is, how are we paying for all the food? Like the bill comes due, that kind of thing.
That's a good
I don't know what kind of restaurant the Burger Bot is. I don't know if it's like, you pay at the counter or if it's like they bring you your food. But at a time where you got a breakneck pace like this, no time for that joke, I guess. But I just wanted to make it here before before we.
That's what we're here. Pump the brakes. Tell us your jokes.
And then, man, missile attack. And I can't help but hear the voice of 2007 Ironhide.
It's Starscream!
and again, like, again, you guys got to know where I'm at in my viewing. I'm just like, fucking Starscream leading the Decepticons? What is happening? What's up with all this missile attack? So it is like this hellacious missile attack. First of all, Starscream's got like all of the missiles. Lugnut has all the bombs. Like, it's like, the bomb bay doors open and they literally just never, like, they cut away. He doesn't actually run out of bombs. And it's like,
we don't have enough film to film this, right? Like, there's just too many bombs.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Blitz here, where it's just like, they are just bombing the fuck out of New Detroit here, and it's kind of upsetting because it seems like this destruction is pretty intense.
Well, yeah, and that's why I think this is such a great episode for you to see out of order, actually, because the Autobots have kind of the same reaction as you're having of like, what the fuck is happening? This is not where I left Starscream at. This is not where I left the state of things. But even they're confused in universe. They're like, this is not right. This is not supposed to be happening. Yeah. So I just thought this was like a good kind of like acid fever dream for you to experience here for our holiday show.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, this is not where I parked my car. This is not my beautiful wife. Yeah, that kind of thing. And then fucking Shockwave comes out. It's just like, when the days go by, he's just annihilating like this like train track. Train falls off the track, presumably killing all those people. It's like, it is just brutal.
And even weirder, it's the long arm colored Shockwave.
Right.
Like, it's not even purple Shockwave. It's like the long arm colored one.
Right. Right. And like, from what I last saw, sure, he's revealed himself to the Autobots as the space bridge is going on. But like, I didn't really take it to where like I am ditching the long arm facade forever and I'm just out as Shockwave. I thought it was just kind of more of a fuck you to Bumblebee and Bulkhead. He remembered them from boot camp because like he even says, he's like, oh, or maybe you remember your friend Long Arm. Fuck you. As he just like gives them like,
look, I have Long Arm's shirt on, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
He left his sweater here. Along with the scene where we see Shockwave really quickly, this is sort of a choose your own adventure situation. There's 3 other bots with long arm at this moment. Did you, Mike, recognize them in the same way that you sort of like, it's Jazz when you see Jazz, or are these kind of mystery characters for you?
These are mystery characters. I know that they are animated characters. I think maybe the big one might be Strika, but I don't know that for sure because I don't know these characters. So I took no notes because like I am hoping that some of this stuff actually just like slides off of my smooth brain after we get the episodes out, and I'm going to do no follow-up.
This is going to feel like a oil nog dream. You're going to wake up tomorrow and just be completely expunged of it.
Very, very much so. This entire thing may just be part of Soundwave's menagerie. Who knows? Who knows? This entire episode might just be a construct of Soundwave's deprogramming, his reprogramming. But yeah, so it's like, so I don't know how many Decepticons were there. I saw that there was like more than a couple, and one of them is big. The Shockwave thing kind of like knocked my perception. I'm like, oh, it's just Shockwave. And it's like, and what is this gun arm he has? Is that his gun arm, or is he using Megatron's fusion cannon? Because like the design looks very, very similar. Like it's black with red trim, and that doesn't necessarily go with like the long arm coloring. I'm like, what is happening here? I don't understand. Because last I saw him, he has 2 sets of claw hands. He doesn't necessarily have like a gun hand that's exclusively only a gun. So I was more distracted by that. And then I'm just like, who are these assholes? I think I even said that out loud when Lucky and I were watching it. I'm just like, who are these assholes? And then it cuts away quick enough before you don't even get to see it. But I'm pretty sure the big one is Strika.
Well, yeah. Then I was going to say, then I won't get into it. This is the choosing your own adventure part of it. I won't break down those characters for you. We'll relitigate those other day. Listeners at home, you're gonna have to Google that on yourself if you don't remember who these 3 characters are. I'm not going to spoil it for Mike here.
But like this is a pretty intense battle, and the Auto men are just kind of like trying to figure out what to do, right? Like because like they're human, they can't really do anything. Oh, that's right. I was trying to get my footing under me because like I think at one point, like because of Shockwave's blast, I think like a house is set on fire or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, right. And fire starts, and I think this is a great moment because this is where like Optimus and everybody kind of realizes they're still big damn heroes. Like we might not be big robots, but my God, I'm a firefighter, no matter what. And so he orders them into action. He's Captain America in Avengers 1, right? Like he's like, I want you up on this ridge and I want you to get to the 44th clearing. Like, I love this little moment.
Yeah. It's very much that. And so, like first responders are there, there's some very Optimus Prime looking fire trucks, which I think is cool.
Right.
But I think at this point is where like Starscream like comes down and reveals himself. And incidentally, this transformation sequence is fucking bitchin'. Like, I mean, you got like the speed lines, and it is kind of interesting for as jam-packed as this episode is. It feels like, I don't know, I always get a little squirmy when I talk about filler and I talk about what we're doing to stretch for time when the story itself feels very jam-packed. It's 23 minutes. It's incredibly satisfying. But by the same token, this Starscream transformation takes like a long time.
Yeah, and it's quite elaborate.
It's very elaborate. It's cool, but like I think it's when. Well, I'll talk about it when we get to it. But
I was going to say there's an important here right before Starscream does transformation that's really important. They run into this building, they rescue a woman, and this is where the woman says her baby's upstairs. Prowl goes, snaps into action, runs upstairs to get the baby from like the 3rd floor room, and then grabs the kid and does this superhuman power flip out of the window. It's like a spinning bicycle kick. No human should be able to do it. Lands from a 3rd story drop in a human form, and is totally fine. And this moment would be mad heroic for Prowl saving the baby. But but everyone's so weirded out by it. And this is that next red flag of like, something's really wrong here. Like Prowl shouldn't even, they don't know much about humans, but they're pretty sure Prowl's not able to do that.
Right, which was interesting because, like, as I was watching it, it didn't strike me as unusual as it should have, because I would imagine that even in a human form, that Prowl would retain his ninja training, so that like he would still have these skills to perform a ninja flip, that type of thing. So it didn't it didn't strike me as odd as it should have, and certainly not as odd as it did the others, including Prowl himself, because he's just like, wait a sec, I shouldn't be able to do that. But it's interesting that the characters were a step ahead of me in that. You know, that I just took it as like, you know, again, he knows how to tuck and roll and contort his body in a way that he could safely, you know, make that flip, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, but that was from pretty high up, right? Like, I think even they know, like, you know, you're gonna have to do some like Jackie Chan style slowing yourself on the way down. You can't just jump out of a window, you know, with a baby and land it. I think you'd have to be a pretty special level of ninja to do that.
Well, arguably he is. So like, I mean, again, and not to continue arguing, because I'm not going anywhere with that, but I'm just saying like that, like, you know, he is a special kind of ninja. So, but anyway, so Starscream, he's like, I'm here, bitches.
Right,
and,
exact line, actually.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's a lot of laughing. It seems like most of Starscream's dialogue in these sequences is just laughing. A lot of, because like I think it's like a commercial cliffhanger. He's like ha 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 ha, and then we come back from commercial, he's still laughing. I think
right, and he's full bodied, and I think maybe this is where the transformation sequence is a little valid, because the last we left Starscream, he's just kind of a floating head, right? Like I think they were really driving home like he's complete here, something's up. I think that's another kind of red flag for this. But yeah, and it's cackling and the commercial cliffhanger moment.
Yeah. And no Allspark fragment. I don't know if I'm supposed to notice that or not.
Right. Bingo. Blammo. Remember, we're all in this safety veil of what's interesting is like I mean, I know we're getting ahead now of the big reveal here, but like I love keeping track of what is within the veil of the simulation and what isn't. It gets really interesting, especially in the next episode too.
Yeah, that is an excellent point. And it's already in real time getting me to recontextualize things. It's like, wait a sec, let me reshuffle that deck real quick. It's like, wait a sec, where are we at? That type of thing.
Right. For example, this next scene, we cut to Sari, who's arriving at the Autobot base via her jetpack. Now that's real world happening.
Right.
But yeah, so Sari gets back, she gets to the thing, she bangs on the door, they can't still be sleeping, it's Christmas. How much of this damn oil nog did they drink? Her banging on the door saying it's Christmas very much gave me like Christmas Carol vibes of like, I say there, boy, what day is today?
Right.
You gotta hold up the newspaper, it's Christmas Day, sir.
Right.
But yeah,
go buy the fattest goose you could find.
right. Get the fattest robo goose at the market.
Yeah.
But nobody has answers, so she kind of jetpacks up to the roof and goes through a broken window, which I think is very cool. She searches inside the house. She's checking. This is also gets into the ghost story element, because she checks for the bot's energy signature, and it's coming from inside the house. There's the ghost scare for you, right? Like,
yep.
Classic ghost story. And then we cut back to Starscream laying waste to the city. And this should have been like your first red flag too, because it's like she probably would have known. Like the level of damage that's happening over at BurgerBot like should have been, you know, visible through the entire town.
Right.
So something's definitely up here. This is where Bulkhead kind of runs up and punches the big metal leg. He fractures his fist.
You dare touch me!
You know, be an Optimus, make a similar stand, but Starscream like breaks Optimus's leg, like really breaks it, and he has to get hauled off. I thought that was such a kind of a humbling scene.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like one aspect that like Optimus somehow immediately knows. He's like, gasp!
It's my leg. Ratchet, I think it's broken.
And it's like, I mean, I don't know. He's like Radioactive Man for a second. He's like, pants caught on barbed wire. Good Lord, choke and A-bomb, yarg. The self-awareness there to know that I don't know. Have you ever broken any bones, like any broken arms, broken legs?
I have not. Knock on wood. I have not.
Yeah, me too. I haven't either. So, not to get all, existential here, but like, I don't know what that feels like. It's like there's been times like I've twisted my ankle, or like famously the time I skinned my entire knee coming off of a goddamn electric scooter. Yes, I'm still getting mileage out of that story. But my point being is like, at no point was it like, gasp, I think my leg is broken. It's like, I knew the extent of the injury. I was just like, oh shit, I just skinned that really good. That kind of thing. Like, I don't know if I would be able to know what it would feel like if my leg is broken, or if it just like hurts. That kind of thing.
Right. Well, yes, some people don't, from what I've heard. I mean, my grandmother at the age of 65 broke her leg and was like worked and walked on it for like 2 more days.
Interesting.
But sometimes it's just there's levels of the fracture there.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing too, not to, litigate the extent of breaks, because fractures are considered breaks, but really it's just like a crack. Is Optimus's leg like snapped, real compound fracture situation, or is it just like a fracture? I mean, I know it's over litigating, but I guess it's just from the perspective of like, we don't know how to what that data is. The data could be called pain. That kind of thing.
Sorry, I wanted to add too. I was thinking about this scene, like, I think it would have played better. I mean, I get why they did it in the order that they did, but I think it would have played better, kind of to your point, if this like leg breaking and hurting their fist on the leg, if that hadn't happened before Prowl jumped out the window, maybe that moment of amazement would have been a little more like, well, 3 of our guys have broken bones, but Prowl just landed a perfect double somersault out of a window. Yeah. Something's up here. But I think I think there was some removing things around a little bit.
That's an interesting perspective as well. But like with the Optimus thing, I have to underscore that he attacks Starscream with an axe. So yeah, I'm like, and it's like a true fireman's axe, and it looks just enough like the robot equivalent to it. I'm like, hell yeah. It's like, this is an action figure I need in my life. I need a real David K looking, like 6-inch scale human Optimus with a big heckin' axe. That is just something I need.
If they ever come out with the David K and Marty Eisenberg animated 2-pack, remember to go split it. Remember, we'll go splitsies on
it. Yes.
You can't forget.
Well, I passed it up. I thought it'd still be there.
Really.
God, can we go an episode talking about how?
No, never again.
Oh my gosh. What? I think what's going to happen now is we're going to start making foolish decisions. It's like, well, now I bought this $80 blur because I didn't want to pass it up. That kind of thing. I don't know.
We're going to be seeing like anything in a 2-pack. We're like, fuck, 2-pack, better get it. We learned we got burned once.
It's like we have those already. So what? We just trade each other the other one from the other 2-packs. I have 2 of these already. Oh my God. Oh my God. If anybody's got a line on a Rescue Ratchet multi-pack, let us know. 2mikes2furious@gmail.com.
Always standing, even if this show ends one day, I want you to remember this moment and contact that line.
Yeah, he wants the Rescue Ratchet. I want the activators. It's perfect. It's like everybody wins. Perfect. A little bit of something for everybody. Christmas is coming.
Yes. So this scene, though, I guess going back to like the order of operations here.
Yes. Please.
I do like this moment where it happens, because they have to kind of haul. I want to say David K now. Human Optimus. They want to haul him off, and because they do this, it's sort of this beautiful moment where even as Starscream's just, reveling in human insignificance, we see another underrated human trait, which is sort of being a wallflower, escaping into the crowd. Being small actually kind of works to their benefit here. And then Starscream, humanist, can't tell any of the humans apart.
Right.
It's a very Where's Waldo moment for him, right? He's looking for that red jacket that kind of looks like a fireman.
Right.
Like, I can't see him. Where'd he go? But sadly, he just starts blasting them all. Like, you think, like, we really stumped him this time, but then he's just like, fuck it, I'm going to shoot everything.
Right. And does he realize they're Autobots at this point? Because, like, there's a moment through this where he's just swatting them away as insignificant humans. But I think it's like before he starts annihilating all the vehicles, which I love that. Again, it's a good reminder that the Autobot team is first responder vehicles. So you've got multiple Optimus Prime fire trucks. You've got a couple Ratchet ambulances. You've got the Bulkhead SWAT van, the Prowl motorcycle. And I think maybe in this gathering, you might have a Captain Fanzone car, that certainly comes up later. Looking not too worse for wear. But anyway, like, I think, like, you know, Starscream starts hauling off and, like, blowing up all these cars. And it reminds me that again, at the core, Transformers are robots in disguise. Because I think Starscream says something to the effect of, like, wait a goddamn minute.
Prime? Ratchet? I thought I recognized those voices.
I thought those voices.
I know these guys.
Yeah, right.
I know him.
Exactly, yes. And then I think that's when the vehicular carnage comes in. He just starts, like, you know, blowing up all these trucks indiscriminately.
Yeah. But really the Automen, as it were, get patched up. They slip away. They get patched up by first responders. They're lamenting these human forms, but they still make a stand to get to Sumdac Tower. And this is where kind of we were talking about earlier. They take the bus and they're having like a moment of like, this isn't so bad. Like, finally someone's driving us around for once.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love that realization that it's just like, oh yeah.
This is like a little moment of ecstasy for them in this otherwise, you know, real bad day of theirs.
Yeah, I like that they take some joy in that. There was also kind of like a question of scale, you know, with Starscream. And, you know, you see that the Bulkhead, you know, barely comes up to his past his ankle there. But I swear that, like, when Bumblebee, who is now an actual child, gets up on Starscream and Starscream's trying to, like, you know, shake him off, I don't know if on the scale chart, if this human child is much larger than actual Bumblebee compared to Starscream. You know, just think about, like, the interaction we've had with him. Again, you know, Starscream is quite large and Bumblebee is a small boy.
Yeah,
so it's
the smallest boy.
Yes, literally the smallest boy. But I thought that was kind of interesting. It's like, you know, that it's, you know, the scale's almost kind of out of whack there a little bit.
Right. So back at the HQ, Autobot HQ, Sari's kind of creeping around the building, encounters Laserbeak and a little army of Soundwaves. Now, I might be grasping at straws a little bit, but to me, this felt a little bit like another Christmas movie, Gremlins. I got a Gremlins vibe of that, of like, there's this little army of little monsters in the house and she finds them all. I sort of got a feel of that from it.
Oh,
yes,
1 million.
No? Am I reaching?
No, 1,000,000%, because, like, we there's a reason why we do a podcast together and we share a brain, because that is immediately the first thing I thought. In fact, I thought that back when they're spiking the oil nog, because there's like a half dozen of them, and they're all like, you know,
they're in the tree.
Yeah, I mean, there is some gremlin energy to these little miscreants, these little Soundwaves, because they all seem like they're kind of mischief makers. In fact, actually, no, I'll toss this out there as well. It's not, you know, Christmas adjacent, but these kind of remind me of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Men from Ghostbusters Afterlife and Frozen Empire, respectively.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I could see these little Soundwaves setting each other on fire just for funsies, you know, that kind of thing. Right. There's an intangible mischievousness about them that again speaks very Gremlins to me. It's very coded as Gremlins for sure.
Yeah. So Sari's sneaking around this house. She quotes she quotes The Night Before Christmas a little bit, kind of paraphrases it.
Not a creature was stirring, not even a creepy robot bird.
I'm in my head, I'm hearing the "Do you hear what I hear" part of the song. Do you see what I see from Gremlins? But yeah, she's creeping around, and she's like, Prime was right. You know, she has this moment of like, I think I get what's going on here. Across town in quotes, the bots arrive at Sumdac Tower as freaking Cybertron appears in the sky. Mike, if you don't know something's going on now, like, holy shit, like the physics of Cybertron barreling at Earth, barreling towards the city, like an asteroid, something has to be up here, right?
We have reached the fever dream portion of the episode.
Yes.
Because like this is completely unhinged at this point. And it's like, yeah, you see Cybertron, it's like it's either Age of Extinction or it's Ultimate Doom, that kind of thing where it's just like Cybertron just like shows up. And it's just like, what the hell? And the thing that I couldn't remember at that particular time, because like I think it's been a while since I've seen an establishing shot of Cybertron in TFA. In fact, I don't know if I have now that I say that out loud, because we've had stuff on Cybertron. Obviously, Boot Camp was on Cybertron, but I don't know if we've had like an establishing shot of like, yes, on the planet Cybertron many millions of years ago.
Yeah, but we all know it is either way. I mean, it's in our DNA, so. It's very clearly Cybertron.
Yeah, it's instantly recognizable as Cybertron, but as a Cybertron that's looking fly as fuck. It looks like it's in pretty good condition. It's not missing like the whole bottom portion of the planet that may or may not be the planet of junk, that kind of thing. It's like it doesn't look war ravaged, that kind of thing. So that kind of sets off multiple red flags for a number of different reasons there. But that shock is compounded instantly and immediately, where it's like, oh, hey, we made it to Sumdac Tower. Oh, shit, there's Cybertron. And then suddenly, like almost like the space bridge device or like the thing coming out of like the undersea base or something, you get like this like telescoping weapon and just fucking Independence Day's Sumdac Tower. 100%. And I'm like, holy shit, what is happening? I'm like, oh yeah, so Isaac's fucking dead now. So Sumdac Tower is gone. What is happening? That kind of thing where it's just it's too crazy to be real.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't even have time to worry about Isaac Sumdac because freaking Megatron appears and gets a big juicy transformation scene.
Yeah.
And even if we're not talking about all that, if you're not convinced something's up, the first thing he says is,
"Bow before Megatron. Now that I am Lord of Cybertron, I return to Earth to exterminate organics once and for all."
And everyone's just like, when the fuck did that happen? Like, what is going on?
Right. Well, and it's that, but then also it's like, so wait a sec, is Megatron like, I don't know, like the benevolent ruler of Cybertron, that kind of thing? Like, again, it's not war ravaged. Like the war has been won. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and how did Megatron get out of the space bridge? How did he end up on Cybertron? It's like, it's so many questions, but like in this weird time jump fever dream that I'm living in, this stuff could have happened. Like,
I guess I'm just realizing that now. Like, yeah, how would you experience it?
Starscream has been restored. Megatron has been restored. So they're both free from wherever the space bridge deposited them. There's new Decepticons. There's an army. Shockwave is there. So it's like, to me, that this could be, aside from like the turn that we're about to see, we're almost there. But like for me in this Ghost of Christmas Future, this could be an outcome that happens. Sure. For me, this isn't as unreasonable as other people watching this could be. Because it's just like, oh, wow. And it's not even until the rug is completely pulled out to where it's just like, I mean, yeah, there's glimpses of like, hey, wait a sec, this isn't quite right. That isn't quite right. But there's a part of this where it's not as unreasonable as perhaps a seasoned rewatcher, a serial rewatcher might think.
Right.
Because like there's a lot of this like, well, this is crazy, but that tracks at a time where I've seen what Prowl looks like, I've seen what the bass looks like, and I've seen what Sorry looks like. So when you put all of those factors together for my singular viewing experience, this isn't as crazy as you would think.
Yeah. Well, wow. I never thought about that. But that, to me, a little devil on my shoulder, that makes it even more luscious. Like,
yes.
I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, yeah.
So in this bad drug trip that Mike Seibert is on watching this, this is the point where you've crawled under the table to call 911 to tell them you've sunk in the couch. And you think you're dying.
Yeah.
But just before it can go on any longer, Bulkhead says this can't be happening. And then that's right, Bulkhead, it can't. And Prime stands on his broken leg. Now, I love that the final thing that drove him to being like it's a simulation is like, hold on, Megatron's Lord of Cybertron. Fuck it, I can stand on this broken leg. Anything's fucking possible here.
Yeah. Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
Bullshit. I call bullshit and just stands up on his broken leg.
Yeah. Why is everyone drinking new Coke? It's like, no. Taco Bell won the franchise wars. I don't think so. That's just too crazy.
Wow, I did not expect 2 Demolition Man references in one episode. I should have, but I guess.
Right?
Awesome. But yeah, so Prime stands on his broken leg. Prowl tears off his sling. None of this is real. Like, they've just had this epiphany. This can't be real. And to prove it, I love this. Prowl like super karate chops Megatron's arm off. Like, he just jumps up godlike and just karate chops the arm right off.
Chops his arm off again. Because, we saw that in the pilot. He cuts his hand off in Transform and Roll Out.
That's right.
So that's I need one more. I almost need one more for it to be a trope. It's like, no, Prowl chops off Megatron's arm, that kind of thing for it to be a solid trope. But yeah, that's so freaking cool. And then is it here that I think David K. Optimus has been reading the Skybound comics because he just picks up Megatron's arm and just starts beating the hell out of him with it.
Right. Kind of going back to that moment about the arm chop off. Now that you bring up how it bookends that original episode, because I don't think there was any line of like, oh my God, Prowl just chopped off his arm.
Right.
I wonder if that was maybe like the animators knowing something the writer didn't. Like, I wonder if that's one of those moments you hear about where like the animators just took a little liberty to be like, this would be a nice throwback to this thing we've already drawn. I hear that happens a lot in animation. That'd be a cool little moment. But yeah, you're like the human bots the little humans just start kicking Decepticon ass, right? This is where it gets really Matrixy, right? Like, they're doing shit they shouldn't do at all. And I love how like this is so on point for their realization here, because Prowl from the beginning of the episode has been like, something's off, something's up, something's wrong. The rest of them are getting up to speed. So now they know they can do things as humans that they're not supposed to be able to do. Prowl, who's way ahead of the curve, just becomes this golden god.
Yeah.
He transcends past physical combat and just like Holy Spirit, Christ on the cross possesses Starscream.
Literally just does this T-pose and he's just like, that was nuts. I'm like, what is this? And that
awesome.
And that was we talk so much about moments and glimpses that I've had spoiled for me. I've seen that before. When you go to Twitter and put in Transformers animated into GIFs and you see that, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Remind me to ask about that never, because there is an unsettling aspect to that. It's kind of upsetting the ethereal nature of it. Like you say, it's like, Prowl is almost like outside his body at this point, and it's just it's unsettling and it's a little upsetting.
Well, it really, this to me is the most callback to the Matrix of any of this episode, because it's very much like how Neo defeated Agent Smith at the end of the original Matrix by jumping inside of his body and then bursting forth out of him. He goes right into Starscream's head to defeat him.
Yeah.
And if we're in this fantasy world where we get action figures of the human Automen, I'm definitely getting one of those like bases that you use for like Gundams to make them look like they're flying. And I'm posing Prowl in his like teeth thing and putting it above the rest of them. That's just too cool imagery.
Is that a meme? Or something, because like I hear like, or is it more like an anime trope or something like that? Like I don't know the meta contextual context for the T-pose reference. I was thinking back in the War for Cybertron Netflix series, where like Ultra Magnus does that at some point. I think he's still wearing his dumb cloak at some point. Like we know who you are. We see your shoulders. We know who you are. But like at one point, or maybe it's like a spiritual apparition after he spoiler alert has been killed by Megatron. But whatever. At some point, like Ultra Magnus does like this like T pose, and he just like floats up in the air, and I'm like, I've seen that one too many times to not think that that's a thing or something. I don't know. So if you're an anime expert, Ed, you know about the meme of T-posing, let me know in the comments or at MikeSeibertRadio@gmail.com or 2mikes2furious@gmail.com. I forgot what show I was hosting for a second. Good Lord.
Well, to bring that up, I think you may have actually heard of I think you may actually know the anime that it reminded me of was Vampire Hunter D. There's this moment where they have this character who's like basically being kept alive on life support the entire movie, and then you see what his ability is. It's that his like ghost can come out of his body and like kill anything, and it's like a last ditch effort, and the ghost like flows through this, kills all these demons and monsters in one fell swoop. I kind of got that vibe from this, of very much this like floating apparition that just takes everything out. That was the other reference I got, other than Matrix. That was the other reference I got from.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. This fight with Megatron rocks. I mean, and this fight with the Decepticons is pretty cool and very satisfying. Like you get this moment where Blitzwing gets it the worst out of anybody else. I mean, aside from Starscream getting astral projection to the skull there, but like he goes to step on Prowl, and then like instead Bulkhead like smashes through his entire leg, which is pretty brutal. But like, you get some good expressions of all three Blitzwings here, even before that sequence. Like I love when he's got the hole in, he pulls his leg up and like looks through the hole, and frickin' Joker Blitzwing is like, yeah, man, I guess I got a hole in my leg now, or some such like that.
Let's go! Oh, look! I have a hole in my rocket!
That was a laugh out loud moment during our viewing. Lucky actually laughed out loud at that one. She thought that was pretty funny.
That was pretty wild.
Yeah, but then you get some bumper on bumper violence here, where the child Bumblebee takes on Blitzwing himself, and I love that he's like he's like scrolling through his faces, slapping him around. I think.
Yeah, what a great little animation there, right? Like just like flipping through them one at a time, just from like punching bagging it.
Yeah.
So cool.
Making him dizzy basically. It's like just spinning him around.
And then at the same, this is all like intercut very quickly. We also have cut back to this scene of Sari going down the elevator at the base, and I don't know, like this moment, just this little moment of her going down in the elevator, like hit like such a cool like animation vibe for me. I had the same feeling that I had when back in the Space Barnacles episode, when she's in the facility and like it's really hot and steamy and they changed the animation style. Like, there was just something about this moment that struck me in that same way of like, this is really cool. She's kind of like resolute going down to like, whatever she finds down there. And what she finds is actually the bodies of the Autobots in the basement. And this was a spooky scene too. This is Sari's living out like this horror movie back at the base while all of this other action is going on. And she sees she sees Soundwave down there lording over the bots. Very, very spooky.
Yeah. Well, and in that also, Sari says over her shoulder,
"This place has a basement?" Thanks for telling me, guys.
Yeah, right.
So that was kind of like a revelation, like, as she's fleeing from Laserbeak and the Soundwave gremlins, she crosses this Autobot sigil, almost like, she's like, you can't take the grail beyond the seal, that type of thing. So she she walks onto this thing, and that alone seems to be enough to activate this elevator. And I know it's a cartoon, but man, this sub-level seems to be remarkably deep, incredibly far down.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like we're talking like Decepticon mine type of depth here, because it goes all the way down.
Well, and maybe that's another reason that this animation resonated with me, because this is another kind of anime trope of like this impossible hallway, or like the thing that you have to take up into the mech's head, or like the idea of there being this underground facility way beneath, underneath Neo Tokyo. There's this secret headquarters, like they have to go down to it. Like maybe that really lend itself to anime as well.
Yeah, and the lighting, just the overall vibe, the decor, all of it. It does kind of remind me of the Decepticons mine headquarters a little bit, because there's it's basically lit by computer monitors. Like it has like this tinge of green. Actually, it has kind of the vibe of Isaac Sumdack's workshop. Where it's a lot of green, it's a lot of harsh white, and of course a lot of purple. But it's like that kind of like foreboding type of like, oh shoot, even a Meltdown's lab over on Dinobot Island. It's like it seems like TFA design wise has like evil lair. It's like they have like a certain design temperature to it. Like it's like it's greens, it's purples, it's that kind of thing, and they all kind of seem to have a similar vibe and feel to it.
Yeah, and I think maybe I'm landing on why this scene in particular kind of spooked me out was because we don't know exactly how long Soundwave's been down there, like working on this plan, working on this laboratory. It's that kind of that thing of like someone's been living in the walls of your house, or like someone, there's been like a squatter living in your attic or something.
Yeah.
Like that, it gave me that kind of vibe of like, oh, he's been down there a while and nobody knew about it. I think that's, especially being a homeowner now, that sort of like really struck me on an adult level of horror.
Yeah, it's a real hider in the house situation. Turns out instead of Soundwave, it's just Gary Busey. He's like, oh, hey, I'm living in your house. It's like, but this this kind of underscores, though, I mean, obviously, to your point, how long has Soundwave been there? But like, is this entire sub-level, is this constructed by Soundwave? Or is this a workspace that was built by the Autobots for whatever reason and has been co-opted by Soundwave? Not unlike how Meltdown kind of took over the lab on Dinobot Island, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it would lend itself to kind of Sari's more confusion about that they have a basement. I mean, maybe nobody knows they have a basement until this moment. Maybe there wasn't a basement before this moment.
Right. And then, but how is there because how else do you get the bodies down there? Because you would have to have an elevator. So let's think about all of this, because now I'm wondering because again, I don't have the context for any of this. It's like, so did Soundwave and his little army of gremlin Soundwaves, did they build the basement and the elevator to get to it? That kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas I didn't think about that until just now. I just thought that like in this jump forward into the future, that's just something they've done. Like they've much like the adding the street signs and the Christmas tree and the making it more warm and cozy and home-like. Sure, they've expanded. They're setting down roots.
Right.
That's just kind of how I took it. But now that we're talking about it, it's like maybe this entire thing is the machinations of Soundwave. Maybe Soundwave has been there since he, washed up in the sewer, in tape deck mode, that kind of thing.
Right.
Because here's the other thing. I don't know if there's another Soundwave episode between the end of season 2 and now. I don't know that this is the only one, and don't sharpshoot me. I'll figure it out when we get there. But, but still, it's like, so, but again, for my viewing experience, you can have this exercise of like, oh, well, there's been another Soundwave adventure and he's gotten away and somehow he's made it to, Autobot headquarters here. Anything is possible in animated, it would seem.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So kind of to wrap this up as we're leading to this big cliffhanger here for part one, back in Town Square, the Autobots realize, they're in the Matrix. Much like in the Matrix, you can bend the rules and break them all together. So they all decide that they can transform if anything's possible. Let's transform back into bot modes. And they do it, they displace the human side and metal parts are growing out of where their limbs were, except for Bulkhead, who needs a little help from some mouth sounds. I thought that was a really funny scene.
That was pretty great
because that to me was peeling back the fourth wall a little bit of we all do that, right? That transformation sound, you making it with your mouth. That's such like a human real world thing that we've all done. It was so cool to see that in universe.
Absolutely. And to see everybody do it.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. It's like,
it's almost like the chicken sound from Arrested Development. Like everyone's got a little bit of their own.
You're a chicken. Cuckoo-ca-cha. Cuckoo-ca-cha.
What are you doing? Sound to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Have any of you seen a chicken? Have any of you ever heard an Autobot transform?
Exactly. And completely, related, unrelated. It's like, so, a lot of us have read the IDW comics, specifically, IDW 1. And somewhere along the way, I don't know if this is a James Roberts thing or if it was before that, but you would have sound effects for the transformation. And I wonder if anybody out there has read the words and the phonetic pronunciation, if you've said that out loud as you have written it or as you are reading it, because I know I have. And it's like, that's not quite right, but it's not wrong either. It's just in terms of the cadence of the sound effect. Hey, if you want to, I don't know, record a voice memo of what you think the transformation sound effect is, send a voicemail to the email at 2mikes2furious@gmail.com and we'll play them on a future episode. I think that could be fine.
That would be fun.
That could be kind of fun.
So anyway, they all transform. Even Bulkhead finally gets the hang of it. They're all just, it seems like they've won. They've got their groove back. They know how to transform. But then
we can transform now. Right. We've got cogs.
But I think this is such a great reminder of how in control Soundwave is, because no matter how big they get, this giant, and TF Wiki put it really well, they called it a shattered glass Soundwave, sort of appears, and it's just this, off-colored version of animated Soundwave, but it's huge. It's big enough to hold the full-size Autobots in the palm of its hand. I mean, we're talking this is Unicron level size.
Yes.
But that inside the simulation, that stuff's all fine and good. Literally takes them in its clutches. And that's kind of the last we see of them in the simulation, because back at the base, Sari has failed in her objective to take out Soundwave, and she vows to return.
I'll be back for you guys. I promise.
As Soundwave plays his dark lullaby from his electric keytar.
Yeah.
And all their eyes glow red. You know what that means.
Soon the Autobots will unite with us. Soon they will call themselves Decepticons.
Means to be continued. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
And I love this the shattered glass Soundwave here, because there's something unsettling about white being the color of the hands as the Autobots are essentially drowning in it. It's white is an unsettling color for that. It wouldn't be as troubling if it was just black or blue or something like that. There's something about it being white that adds another unpleasant texture to it. Give you a little more GB-heebies with that.
Nobody wants white hands on them. Ugh.
No, ew, gross. Can I throw a hot take out here?
Please.
Obviously, Soundwave is my favorite character, and it's cool to see my dude getting so much play here. I love it, but I got no affection for Shattered Glass Soundwave, with the white and that particular shade of blue and the dub headband. I don't like it.
Sure.
But this I like. It's like it's the white and the purple and the red. I could get on with that color scheme way more than like the weird like minty fresh, aqua fresh type of thing. Maybe it's just because I don't like Shattered Glass. I don't know, but it's just like
same actually.
Yeah, it's and I have appetite for mirror universe type of stuff, and
repaints for sure are up your alley.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I have Shattered Glass Sideswipe to go with my Sideswipe army, and that came with a gothy Rodimus repaint, which is fun enough. He's fine. But I think I feel like the whole concept of Shattered Glass in Transformers is kind of like undercooked, because it's just really, it's like the alignment is flipped, but that's about it. It's like, sure, Optimus Prime is evil and Megatron is good. Okay. It's like that doesn't really change anything. It's like all you've done is flip the factions and the color schemes. If you like Shattered Glass, I mean, that's fine, because there are some cool color schemes like that black and purple Jetfire looks pretty cool. Kind of, I mean, there are some cool color schemes in there, but for the most part, it's just like it's almost it's too binary for my taste, where it's just like, instead of being dark, it's light. It's like, again, with Jetfire, it's like, instead of being white, he's black. It's like that just, I don't know, that just strikes me as kind of boring. The only reason I bring it up is because, again, like you had noted in the TF Wiki, they kind of call this the quote unquote Shattered Glass Soundwave. But as I look at it, I would probably buy a toy of that. I will never buy a toy of a green headband Shattered Glass Soundwave. That just, there's nothing there for me.
Yeah, I was trying to remember, or I didn't look up or wasn't able to find if they made repaints. It seemed like that would have been a slam dunk if they just would have repainted a couple of animated Soundwave toys in these colors.
Yeah.
I don't think it happened.
Yeah.
Hasbro out there just leaving money on the table.
Speaking of repaints, completely unrelated, I did pick up that Motormaster, that Legacy Motormaster, which is a repaint of. It's great. That deep purple really sings.
Yeah,
it is so, and that's the only reason why I picked it up, because instead of yellow, his lights and highlights are green, so it's like a neon green on a dark purple and black color palette there. Yeah, it really won me over. It's because I mean, and I do like that the head sculpt is delightfully accurate, because it's just Macho Man. He's like, ooh yeah, I can hear the voice of Alpha Magnus talking about Legacy Motormaster there, but yeah, he's a fun as fuck figure. I'm glad I grabbed him. But
that's awesome.
But anyway, that's
yeah.
So to be continued. Woo. So that's Human Error Part 1.
Journey.
Yeah, we did it. So I guess before we move on to our next episode, it's time for Mike's G1 score.
Yes. Oh boy, we're getting back in the saddle. It's been a long time.
And this one, man, I really kind of struggled with this one, because this one, more than some of the other episodes recently, it's kind of chock full of Easter eggs, but that's what they are. They're more Easter eggs and references. I'm gonna go with a 4.7. So it's low, and what that means to me is because this is an episode that can only exist in Transformers Animated, but it still has a strong pedigree of G1 callbacks. I mean, obviously you've got the Only Human thing. You've got the Cybertron coming in where, again, it's either Ultimate Doom or even 2007 if you feel like it. You know, you've got the Witwickies in there. You've got your Super God Master Force friends in there. But really outside of that, actually, and I one of the big ones for me is like as we go into the cliffhanger, you know, Soundwave even says, he declares, Autobots inferior, Soundwave superior. Which, yeah. I mean, you know, just that alone, you know what? Even in real time, I'm going to amend my score. 5.7. That gets a whole point.
Yeah, get it up there above the halfway mark at least.
Exactly. Like, yeah, I think that's kind of it for like references. So it's like, you know, it's got some top stuff and it's got some Easter eggy stuff.
I agree with that. I'm with you there because it definitely does double duty here. Like it's paying homage to older G1 stuff quickly because it's also there. I was surprised how many like Christmas movies and other movies it was referencing. Well, first of all, it's a huge Matrix thing, not saying that's a Christmas movie.
Sure.
But yeah, it was just these little notes of Home Alone and Gremlins and Short Circuit 2. Like I love that it was kind of paying attention to those as well.
Well, and all the musical cues as well.
Yeah.
You know, sure. I mean, especially like in the first act of the episode, you know, you get some Carol of the Bells, you get some Jingle Bells, some God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen and whatnot. It's like you get a little bit of like Christmas standards kind of woven into the texture of the score. Did you, you know, with regards to Sari and her jetpack, am I crazy for thinking that sounds kind of like a pod racer a little bit?
Ooh, no, I don't think you are crazy. I'd have to go back and listen for sure, but I'm ready to make that canon right now. I think we should stamp it. I love the idea if it does.
Yeah, and you know, something that should have tipped us off for whether it was a clue or not that you know we're in a different place of reality. Bumblebee even says we're not in Detroit anymore.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, literally.
Right. I love that. I love that stuff that gets, you know, that's the sign of a great twist ending. Does it recontextualize just about every line that you've heard so far? I love when they do that.
So that's, I think, before we take off for part 2, we'll have some Ichabod Drift's favorite segment. It is time once again. It has been far too long. We've had a goddamn season finale. We've had a goddamn live stream. We've had like all of these endings, and not a one of them has included Michael Andrews' preview haiku. And my dude Ichabod Drift, he's ready for the Michael Andrews preview haiku. I'm going to run across the room. I'm going to turn down the lights. Now, in this case, in the Two Mikes Cafe, there's some twinkling Christmas lights as we look outside. The snow is falling. It's nice and cozy. I'm going to get myself a nice foamy cappuccino to kind of warm my bones here.
Like a peppermint mocha maybe they have on special on the chalkboard for this season.
My gosh, yes. And as the bongos tap in the background like usual, it is time, my friend, for the Michael Andrews preview haiku. Preview of our next episode.
We're going to call this one a preview poem because I've done a little switch up on it for the holiday season. And I think you'll at home know where I'm going with this. So 'twas the morning of Christmas when all through the city, the Autobots weren't stirring, which turns out is shitty. If Sari can't help, New Detroit is sunk. Unless she finds help from some leftover junk, she'll scour the city, visiting a myriad of places. So maybe, just maybe, we'll see some Christmas past faces.
Oh, clap. Preview haiku, Christmas style.
Couldn't help myself. I love a good parody.
No, that is pretty terrific as always. We appreciate that. And well, shoot, we made it. We post-show banter, I guess. Eat some Christmas time pizza. What goes on a Christmas pizza?
Oh, you got to have a little cranberry sauce. I think it's mostly like leftovers from Thanksgiving, but put on a pizza.
Sure.
Yeah.
Put some ham, some maybe some turkey. Oh, that's gross.
A little turkey, a little gravy for the sauce, a whole chunks of mashed potatoes, just stuff like that.
This is getting nastier the more that we go. Want to be a guest on the show? Send us an email, 2mikes2furious@gmail.com. Interact with us on social media. You can follow 2mikes2furious on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 2mikes2furious.